Citations, Legion of Doom, welcome to Podcast, the storm where social awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, folks.
And I am your host, last time Lone Wannabe, the brainstorm of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing well. I did a little bit more research on Alistair, and it turns out he's Greek, which does make me more comfortable with him. He's not technically a demon, he's a daimon in the Greek sense, more so than a hellspawn. Interesting.
Stuff's happened. Nothing of, note to mention. Although, I do want to point out, obviously, we are skipping the intro, just because it is incredibly hot where I'm at, and I did not want to waste time with an intro.
Ironically, probably by the time we're done, the sun will be down, and it'll probably be cooler there, but
It's 89 degrees where I'm at right now, while the sun is fucking setting.
Fuck.
Yeah. Got more than once ahead of this. Fantastic. Okay. So, pretty much, yeah. I'm not going to say it's Dalton's week because I'd say it's fairly kind of even.
Yeah. It wasn't that there was anything major for most of the week. It was just a lot of little things that amounted to quite a bit.
Yeah. Which is from metro.co.uk. Published May 11th, 2024. Written by Asiya Iftikhar. I'm not trying to insult the writer or anything of this article. I am terrible with names unless they are said to me first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! Okay, so this was updated May 13th, 2024. So, okay.
Funny story about that. We'll get into after you read the title, because I have the tea on that.
Hello, Giant Turtle. Good to see you, Giant Turtle. Yeah, the title is "Sorry, Straight White Men. Doctor Who was never made just for you."
And now comes the, as Alistair would say, the sugar on the cream. The thing about that edit is that just was added after the fact. The original title of this article was "Sorry, Straight White Men, Doctor Who was never made for you," as in you are not welcome in it. And only after getting a shit ton of negative feedback did the author go, "Wait, shit, optics fail. Add a modifier in there somewhere." Wah, 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 wah.
I'm currently boiling alive because it is hot as hell where I'm at. This is like the Midwest. So, also, yeah, sorry, Giant Turtle, I haven't actually read chapter lately of Worm. I've been busy actually writing my own stuff, so.
And I haven't really finished reading Pact yet because I don't like watching people fail stupidly about every 5 minutes, and therefore, given what you told me the last time we talked about it, I'm just dreading watching people fail miserably and be stupid. I don't like watching people be stupid.
So, okay, is it really? Well, I guess I don't know if this technically counts as a subhitter, but from the moment I saw, I'm sorry if I'm gonna butcher this name, Nikuti Gatwa dancing the night away in a bright outfit during the 2023 Christmas special, I knew I would fall in love with his iteration of the Doctor. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Not everyone was as excited by such an unapologetically queer black doctor who, though, a vocal contingent of keyboard warriors took to social media to claim the show had gone too woke.
Okay, and here is the thing. It's not that he is queer and black, it's that his queer and blackness is front and center and is the entirety of his character that is the problem. Nobody cared um when David Tennant was Scottish and playing the Doctor. Nobody cared when Michelle Gomez was playing the Master or the Mistress, Missy. In fact, if you ask me, Missy is the best iteration of the Master there has been since New Who arrived. John Sims was a terrible, terrible Master. But that's neither here nor there. Point being, it's not diversity in the broad, like diversity they the quote unquote politics of an issue with. It depends you're operating in a problem. Able or how then us love him love every we find again or there we knew that
Oh shit! I thought that was on my end. I guess Dalton. Huh. All right. All right. Well, hopefully Dalton can figure out what's up. Uh. How's everything going for you, Giant Turtle? Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it gets better for you over time, obviously. Um, I guess to sort of stay on topic with this, given my knowledge of Doctor Who isn't as extensive as Dalton's. Um, weirdly enough, there is a a Doctor Who web series on YouTube that's been around for a while that that I watched a few years back and found rather good. I think within the recent few years, they did do a I forget the word when when the doctor like changes to a new actor. I can't remember. Regeneration, a new regeneration, and okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi was having a shit fit for a second there.
Huh.
Anyway,
Geez,
where were where were we?
I'm gonna be honest, man. Basically, everything you were saying got so garbled and robotic. I legitimately thought it was
Okay.
just on my end. So
Okay. Lead me in again, and I will
okay,
try to pick up where I left off.
yeah. Give me a sec. Okay. From the moment I saw Nikuti Gatwa dancing the night away in a bright outfit during the 2023 Christmas special, I knew I would fall in love with his iteration of the Doctor. Not everyone was excited by such an unapologetically queer black Doctor Who, though. A vocal contingent of keyboard warriors took to social media to claim the show had gone too woke.
Okay, and again, as I said earlier, but it apparently didn't go through. It's not the actual diversity of the character or the casting that is the problem. The Doctor always shifts through through regeneration, and there's always new quirks, new personality traits, new aesthetics to get accustomed to. Um, it's not the diversity, it's the capital D diversity. The framework of social justice is the problem, making his identity so central to his character to the point that it is almost the entirety of his character. It's the problem. Because because here's the thing. No one is going to make the argument that William Hartnell's first Doctor is indistinguishable from Patrick Troughton's second Doctor, or John Pertwee's third Doctor, or of the as individual incarnations of the character. And I realize I just glitched out again, so who knows if I'm actually coming through. But they're each individual iterations of the character, although, they're obviously the same character because, the Time Lord inside of the flesh body is. Fucking hell. I think it was on your end that time. I it it glitched out again. Apparently. Am I coming through? Fuck.
Sorry. I muted myself real quick so I wouldn't make noise while you're talking. I can hear you. You're coming through.
Okay. Okay. I had a moment of being inattentive because the thing was buffering. Anyway.
I was gonna say. I also said it's weird how it's a weird reversal this week because usually I'm the one with the technical difficulties.
Yes, and now it is, yeah, reversal. But in any case, back on point. The point is, despite the fact that most versions of the Doctor up until this point have been white, male, and English, that does not mean that they were all indistinguishable from each other. In fact, one of the unique things about Doctor Who is that the Doctor, by way of regeneration, does effectively become a somewhat different character each time. There's continuity betwixt the Doctors, but they are very uniquely and distinctively individual incarnations of the same, quasi-immortal being. And no one made the whiteness or Englishness or maleness central to the Doctor's character for a reason of he's not even technically in universe an Englishman. He's technically in universe an alien from another fucking planet of quasi space god things. But ever since ever since 13, ever since Jodie Whittaker, they have made the femaleness of the Doctor, in the case of her iteration, and the gay, blackness or the queer blackness of 15 central to the incarnation of the character. Compare this also to Michelle Gomez's tenure as the Mistress, as Missy. Nobody cared that she was a female incarnation of the Master because we all know and understand the concept that Time Lords wear bodies the way most of us wear clothes. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't make her femaleness her only gimmick or her only central axiom of her character. They made her an incarnation of the Master first, and a woman, if at all, a distant second. And in all honesty, I found Missy to be a much more engaging version of the Master than either John Sims or whatever asshole they have playing him now, or had playing him during Whittaker's tenure. But my point being, you can have diverse casting without making diversity itself, capital D diversity, the only central axis of the character. And if you
To bring up, because I was bringing up trying to keep on point to fill the dead air we were missing. I brought up their YouTube Doctor Who web series, right? Some are pretty good, obviously cheap because stuff like that. But ones that stick out to me the most. One is there is a. It's like one episode. I think it was like supposed to be a pilot for it, but never took off. The Doctor regenerated into a ginger woman, and obviously, Doctors always wanted to be ginger. So there was a whole bit there, but it was rather entertaining. It's been a while since I watched it, like over 5 years, so my memory of it is a bit shoddy, but I found it fun because she had a lot of energy that matched like Matt Smith or a lot like Matt Smith. And then I don't know if anyone knows this from the Doctor Who 2012 YouTube series. That was kind of like an alternate thing. Like that YouTube Doctor was like the Doctor after, I believe, Capaldi's. Went on for a while, and then I think a few years ago, they finally did a regeneration, which was a Black Doctor. Unfortunately, I haven't really checked it out because I checked it out like sporadically. I didn't like. It wasn't like a thing I got into pretty big. But it looked cool from everything I had seen of it, like from the teasers and stuff. And I just remember like how cool he looked because he's wearing a purple suit.
But in any case, back on point. Rather than making the character a mouthpiece for whatever ideological gobbledygook happens to suit at the time, you try to make them an individual incarnation of the character. Same thing with the Mistress when the Master regenerated into Missy.
I mean that was what I was getting at, to be honest.
And the point is, ever since 13, ever since Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, they haven't done that. They have made a quote-unquote political weapon out of Doctor Who, rather than focusing on things like in-universe logic, continuity within the characters, or even consistent like personality traits. And that is what pissed people off. It wasn't that there was a female Doctor, or in this case, it's not that he is a black queer incarnation of the Doctor. It's that that is fundamentally his only or her only attribute, and often that attribute becomes more central than most, if not all, of the other personality traits of the Doctor. The writing has become transparently a set of propaganda pieces rather than a distinct universe with its own distinct lore and distinct canon. That's why I haven't watched Doctor Who pretty much since Jodie Whittaker took over. It's nothing to do with a female Doctor. Um had they gotten like Tilda Swinton or Haley Atwell or someone that could convincingly play a gender flipped version of the Doctor, or hell, gotten Michelle Gomez back this time as the Doctor, or hell, have Alex Kingston do it because River is essentially kind of already doing the female Doctor shtick. But either way, the point of getting a female Doctor should have been, let's get a female who can play this character in the same way that all the other incarnations have been played through the years by various different kinds of people.
So I'm going to be honest. I think after what was it? The kind of farewell episode to Clara with Capaldi, I kind of stopped watching.
Mm. I gave Jodie Whittaker her shake in her first series as the character, and the episode that did me in was when they did the witch trial episode, and they once again tried to make it a woman's issue, even though it historically was not a woman's issue, and fuck you for doing the historical illiteracy bullshit. But that was the moment where I'm like, oh, so they're just doing whatever social justice talking point happens to suit this week as basically the. I only came back. Go ahead.
I was just going to also be fully honest. The design for the 13th Doctor, I really didn't like just because it was so simple and didn't have really like a grandeur to it.
It was lame, and the ironic thing was her design for the TARDIS was one of the most amazing designs for the TARDIS ever. The almost like Kryptonian style crystal technology thing that she had going. I really liked that design for the TARDIS. But yeah, no, it didn't fit her at all. It's the same problem I had when they changed Matt Smith's TARDIS halfway through his tenure. It didn't really fit his Doctor. His first one that he had when he was traveling with Amy and Rory, that resembled what I would expect from that Doctor. I almost wish they had brought Capaldi in earlier so that the TARDIS switch could have been his thing, but they didn't. But point being, they didn't bother to make a female incarnation of the Doctor their first priority. They wanted to make an incarnation of femaleness who could then take over as the Doctor in her case. And in Ncuti Gatwa's case, they seem to be doing the same shtick, just with, queer blackness instead of femaleness. And it's no wonder that it's ruining the show, because when you prioritize real world political nonsense and theming over in-universe logic or characterization, well, you get what you pay for, don't you? And more to the point I was about to say, I did actually come back for the 60th anniversary because I did hear that they were bringing back the Celestial Toymaker, and I was fucking hyped to see him again, especially given that he was being played by Neil Patrick Harris, which is a freaking amazing casting choice for the Celestial Toymaker. Especially because we haven't really.
I also watched that, and it was really cool.
Yeah, we hadn't seen the Toymaker since the first Doctor's incarnation, so yeah, it was kind of badass to see the Celestial Toymaker again. Unfortunately, he was pretty much the only thing likable about that episode, but I'll take it. Give me more of the wacky Doctor Who lore, but that's neither here nor there. We should move forward now because we've been
Right.
filibustering on this point for a while.
From arguing that the show has been torn apart by woke ideologies to create their own social media trend, rip Doctor Who, you don't need to go far to find the litany of tired complaints. But I'd argue that the show has always been socially progressive and inclusive. I mean,
Okay, but
okay,
that's
hold on,
not.
Don. May I?
Go ahead.
Speaking as a writer, in this case, given that it was the 60s, right? That Doctor Who premiered, or the 50s.
63. November 23rd of 1963.
Okay. The world in the 60s was vastly changing on multiple levels. And so yeah, I would argue that yes, it was progressive, socially progressive and inclusive, but not in the way that it's being framed by this writer or even the people who are working on it now. Because that's not socially inclusive or progressive.
Well, more to the point, what progressivism meant back in the day is not the same as what it means now, because they're entirely different. They're entirely different frameworks.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
In the case of Doctor Who in 1963 up through about like 2012, 2013, because I do think they started dipping into the modern day progressivism at the tail end of Capaldi's era, and it didn't work out well for them. But that's neither here nor there. The framework that they were operating in the 1960s up through the entirety of Classic Who and into the beginnings of New Who was classically liberal, tinged with maybe a little bit of Whig history, because it is England, and therefore obviously English philosophers like Edward Gibbon, or is it Edmund Gibbon? I don't remember. The guy who wrote the Whig history treatise on the history of the Roman Empire. It does make sense for that to be a little bit of what's driving Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is one of those institutions that is quintessentially English. Point being, though, modern day social justice, modern day progressivism, is rooted not in a classically liberal or Whig historical sense. It is rooted in a Hegelian or neo-Hegelian Frankfurt School sense, and these are entirely different frameworks. You skipped right through, Edward Gibbon, John Locke, and then into Rousseau, and landed somewhere in the vicinity of Hegel or Gramsci. These are not the same framework. Not everything that is a left-wing cause, or everything that has been viewed as a progressive historical movement, is the same as the modern day framework of same. For example, there is a vast philosophical difference between the civil rights movement and BLM. There's a vast historical difference between gay people being discriminated against during the AIDS crisis and the LGBT lobby now. The fact that you don't acknowledge or understand that differentiation, or even acknowledge that it happened, is where you are going wrong. It's what's making you out of touch. Because you think you're like Gene Roddenberry, the guy who created Star Trek. You think you're like the original creators of Doctor Who. You're not. Because you're not operating within the same framework as they did, and therefore you are warping things that are rooted in that framework, in the Whig historical or classically liberal framework, and turning it into neo-Hegelian Gramsciite nonsense. And the fact that you can't tell the difference between those two things is precisely why you are fucking up. More left does not necessarily equal more good, especially if you're going left in a different way, or in a different direction, so to speak, than your forebears did. Moving on.
From oh, I started watching the show during David Tennant's run as the 10th Doctor over 15 years ago, and immediately fell in love with the beautiful themes of found family combined with captivating space and time adventures. I never looked back. Over the past 50 years, sorry, over the past 60 years, the iconic British TV show has cultivated a devoted fan base following the timey-wimey adventures of an alien known as the Doctor and his human companion in the TARDIS.
Uh, small pedantic nitpicking, but it's actually quite amazing, especially in Classic Who, how often the Doctor's companions are not even remotely human. Like, Five at one point, Peter Davidson's Doctor actually traveled with a Cyberman. And then in the comics you have people like Frobisher, the shapeshifting penguin alien creature. Or is it Frobisher that's the penguin? I think it's Frobisher that's the penguin. Point being, the Doctor's companions being predominantly human is not something that started happening until New Who. And more to the point, back on point. 15 years is nothing with regards to Doctor Who fandom. 15 years is barely a drop in the bucket when you consider the show has been now going on for 60 years. But more to the point, I'm going to interrogate your fandom here, because you know what I did when I got into Doctor Who, because I also came in late by reason of not being alive for a large percentage of that time. I came in not even with the 10th Doctor, because I really kind of hate the 10th Doctor, and yes, I know that's a bit heresy. But I came in with the 11th Doctor. The 11th Doctor is my jam. There is a reason, of course, why I constantly wear my bow tie, which is cool. But you know what I did that distinguishes a true fan or a genuine fan from a clout chasing hipster who just wants to get on the most recent bandwagon? I actually endeavored to familiarize myself with the shit that happened prior to my showing up. I did watch a bunch of old Who. I did look into the wikis and look into the histories, and I watched a bunch of videos of people explaining the previously existing lore and so on. That's why, for example, that even though I didn't show up until 11 showed up, I was psyched to see the Celestial Toymaker again, because I know who the Celestial Toymaker is, because he was probably the scariest entity that the first Doctor encountered, to the point that even the Doctor, even though he won in his first engagement with the Celestial Toymaker, he was absolutely freaking terrified of the Toymaker coming back again, because the Toymaker is somewhere in the general vicinity of like Q from Star Trek or Gabriel from Supernatural. He's a reality bending, essentially trickster god creature. And to quote the 14th Doctor, when in the most recent special, the only rules the Toymaker follows are the rules of the game. Meaning that the laws of physics are so immaterial to him that he literally has to enforce the rules of gameplay on himself so as to avoid going insane. But my point is, you are treating 15 years of a 50, 60-year-long show as if that makes you a fan in and of itself, when it doesn't. And you're also trying to use your fandom credentials as a reason to say, well, obviously I'm right, because don't you know I've been at this for 15 years? To which I would respond, if you don't actually know anything about the franchise that you've been following for 15 years, I don't particularly care about your opinion. Because a true fan, a true geek, a true nerd gets into the deep lore. That is one of our defining characteristics, and what differentiates a nerd from a hipster, so to speak. Moving on.
In a nutshell, there is no world too crazy, time too far, creature too strange. Not even the end of the universe is the limit. So for a show so versatile and with fluidity so naturally imbued into its bones, it's truly baffling that a non-straight, non-white doctor feels so unbelievable to so many people.
It doesn't. Again, what people are objecting to is not the lowercase d diversity. They're objecting to the uppercase d diversity, the philosophical and political enforcement of diversity, and moreover, the negative impact that this has on writing. Because what you're doing, as I explained earlier, is you are making his blackness and his queerness the entirety of his character, which is not something that has ever happened before with regards to the Doctor. Even though most iterations of the Doctor have been Englishmen, they have all been distinct, unique, and individuated incarnations of the Doctor, to the point that one of the great joys of watching Doctors cross over with their previous iterations or future iterations is watching them play off of each other, watching their unique quirks chafe with each other. For example, as you know, as my Doctor would say, bow ties are cool, but Capaldi found the fact that he was that devoted to them at one point embarrassing. The 12th Doctor, I should say. Um, and this usually happens. Like in the 50th anniversary when 11 and 10 crossed over with the War Doctor. Um, 11 took the piss out of 10 for wearing sneakers or sand shoes, as the British say. Um, and the 10th took the piss out of 11 for compensating with his sonic screwdriver. And they were both absolutely, horrified and ashamed of the Doctor of War, etc., and so on. This is what happens when the Doctors are individual characters, even though by social justice logic, by intersectional logic, they're all white British upper class men, therefore they should all be expressions of the same identity somehow. The problem being is that premise is not true. Identities are not collective hive minds, they're not some sort of platonic oversoul, and therefore you can have individuals expressing individual quirks and tendencies even if they have the same demographic qualities. By contrast, in the case of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, you made her femaleness and her non-traditionality the entirety of her character. You didn't give her unique quirks that belong solely to her, except for maybe the custard cream thing. Which, by the way, I want all TARDISes to come equipped with cookie dispensers now, or Brit biscuit dispensers now. It is a thing that it's an idea whose time has come many times over. But that's neither here nor there. You didn't give Jodie Whittaker her own unique mannerisms and her own unique tendencies. Mostly, the 13th Doctor felt like a reheated, remixed version of like 3 or 4 different unique iterations of the Doctor. Her vocal intonations were very similar to both 10 and 11 mixed together. Her blue dress with rainbow striped collar was supposed to be very evocative of the 4th Doctor. Her cape was supposed to be a reference to Pertwee. The problem being, you didn't allow her to formulate her own individual identity because you were too busy making her a stand-in for all womankind. And that's not who the Doctor is or should be. Same thing here. Rather than make Chudigatwa an interesting incarnation of the Doctor on his own terms, you're essentially trying to shield him from any criticism by using his own queerness and blackness as identitarian shields. Which is not something that any previous incarnation, A, could have relied on, and B, had to rely on because they were too busy making an individually unique impression, to the point where people will still argue as to which incarnation of the Doctor is their favorite, is their Doctor, so to speak, or is the best incarnation of the Doctor. Obviously, I have my biases, and obviously a lot of other people have their biases and so on. But the fact remains, up until 13, up until Jodie Whittaker's incarnation, every incarnation of the Doctor had something uniquely theirs to recommend them, and that made them recognizable. And that would make people drawn to a particular incarnation of the Doctor over another, etc. You can't say that for Jodie Whittaker. You could, I suppose, say that for 14, the reincarnated David Tennant Doctor, but most of his mannerisms were a variation on 10's. And you can't really say that for 15 either. Not to mention the whole bi-generation concept ruining the continuity, in the sense of a lot of fans are now confused as to whether 14 is actually still the Doctor and 15 is basically just a clone, or if they're both the Doctor, or if 15 is supposed to be the Doctor now. That argument is not something you should have had happen. You should have just had him regenerate normally, and then there would have at least been no in-universe debate about it. But now there is. Moving on.
All right. Not the first time this woke accusation has been leveled at the show. McCurdy's predecessor, Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, battled intense public scrutiny as the first woman to take over the beloved role. Angry viewers seemingly accused the show of pandering to woke times, causing Jodie to tell the press, "It's terrifying that a woman being given a particular job can cause so much rage." Now, Nicoletti has been forced to justify his place in the sci-fi series since news of his casting in May 2022.
Sweethearts, both of you. The thing is, every incarnation of the Doctor has to prove themselves worthy of fandom. It's related to that thing I was just telling you about, the people having favorite incarnations of the Doctor and arguing which one is the best thing. The reason being is we, as the fans, get very attached to the Doctor, even though we know whichever iteration he is currently in, or they are currently in, will be different in 4.5 years seems to be the time scale that New Who goes with. I wish there was a little bit more variation in the time that the incarnations would occur in, but details. But point being, we all know this is something that is unique to Doctor Who fandom. We know that no matter how much we love this incarnation of the Doctor, sooner or later his number is going to be up, and there's going to be a new Doctor, who then, okay, stay with me, then has to justify why we should prefer them, or why we should be okay with them taking over the spot. Case in point, I had something of a difficult time getting used to Capaldi after My Doctor, after 11, made such a good impression on me. But you know what? Peter Capaldi didn't whine. He didn't bitch and moan and say he was being discriminated against, or argle, flargle, blargle ageism or something. He just got on with being his incarnation of the Doctor to the best of his ability, and gave the fans reasons, or tried to give the fans reasons, why he should be considered as a good incarnation of the Doctor. And that was what made him succeed. I take issue with you claiming that this sort of discrimination, this sort of fandom outrage, doesn't happen with literally every previous incarnation of the Doctor, and that somehow you are uniquely aggrieved because woman and black and gay. No. Every incarnation of the Doctor will always have to prove themselves. Same thing with every incarnation of the Master will always have to prove themselves, because one of the conceits of the show is regeneration, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the fans are obliged to like every iteration of every character that regenerates. You're going to have to prove yourself, prove to the fan base, prove to the IP that you are worthy of standing in those shoes. And if you don't want to do the work to prove yourself worthy of being an incarnation of the Doctor, then don't be surprised when the fan hates you, especially when this change was made not for in-universe reasons, not for reasoning of an actor who plays the Doctor wanting to retire, not for scheduling reasons, not for any of that, but explicitly to use the IP for messaging and politics. Moving on.
Okay. In a recent interview with Attitude, the sex education star has spoken about the irrelevance of trolls. You are so angry over something so inconsequential that you can't be an interesting person. You can't have much in your life. But actually, you know what? Yeah, Don.
I'm behold as I play the Uno reverse card. You know, if you're that obsessed with politics and that obsessed with identity, especially demographic identity, maybe you're not all that much of an interesting person. And if you're that obsessed with politics and gender that you can't write a decent story or write interesting characters or allow characters to be individuals or allow characters to have unique quirks that will make people like them, then maybe you're just not that much of an interesting person. Behold the Uno reverse card. Anyway, moving on.
But the bigoted straight white men who have spiraled into a meltdown clearly haven't been paying attention to the reboot's rich and ever-evolving history of multiculturalism and LGBTQ plus inclusion.
Okay.
Hold on,
And
let me
and
read.
here's
Hold on. Let me read the next sentence because I think it'll help. When Queer as Folk creator Russell T Davies brought Doctor Who back in 2005, it was clear that from the get-go that this is a show for all the outcast in society. Okay.
Okay. You dumbasses. It's not just straight white men complaining, you morons. It's anyone in the fandom. And contrary to the social justice party line, there have been gay people, black people, women, and men of all stripes in this fandom for freaking ever. And you know what? They were united not by their various identity categories, not by their representation herder. They were united in their loving of this universe, of this IP, of this setting, and its characters and its worlds, etc., and so on. And you know what? It's not just straight white men complaining. There are women, both straight and gay. There are gay men. Hi. There are people of all stripes and walks of life and identities. Because you know what? Anyone can be a Whovian. And because anyone can be a Whovian, they care more about their status as a Whovian, as a fan of Doctor Who, than they do about their demographic identity, i.e., there are plenty of women and men of, every conceivable orientation. And, people of, gender neutral and they them sort of identification who are mad at this recent influx of social justice because it's ruining their immersion, their love of this IP. And the fact that you can pretend that the criticism you're getting is only from straight white Christian men or only from straight white Christian English and American men or some shit is you placing identity above individual identity, placing demographic above formative identity. And that's the thing. Everyone has an identity. But most people, i.e., people with stuff in their lives that is worth a damn, focus on the parts of their identity that are, in some sense, formative to their identity. Things like their interests, things like their skills, things like their hobbies, things like their personality quirks, etc. They are not focused on their demographic information. And the fact that you can pretend like the only people criticizing you are bigoted straight white men or something or other is fucking bullshit. When you consider that there are plenty of women bitching at Jodie Whittaker for being a terrible representative of women, or bitching at Judy Godwell for being a terrible representative for gayness. Again, hi, I am Dalton Mortimer. I am a gay, crippled person of a religious minority. And I fucking hate that people conflate gay representation or gay characters with the LGBT political lobby. They're not the fucking same thing. And the more you make his gayness central to his character, to the obliteration or marginalization of all the other more important aspects of his character, the more pissed off at you I'm going to be. Because you're not allowing me to fall in love with 15 the same way I fell in love with Doctors 1 through 12. And could have fallen in love with 13, but you didn't let me fall in love with her either because you were too busy making her an avatar of all womankind rather than focusing on her being a decent incarnation of the Doctor as a character.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Class commentary was placed front and center through Rose Tyler and her mom, Jackie, who lived on a London council estate, and left-wing sentiment has been a common thread throughout the series. In this season, viewers are introduced to queer companion Captain Jack Harkness, who shared a same-sex kiss with the Doctor in the season finale on primetime TV as far back as 2005.
Yes, I like Jack. I like Jack, and I like John Barrowman. But you know what was interesting about him was that he had an interesting personality outside of being a outer space man slut.
To be fair, on Doctor Who, that's what he came across as most of. I think he obviously got a lot more fleshed out in Torchwood.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a semi-joke character, but even being a joke character is still more dimension than the current crop of social justice written characters are getting. And as for Jackie and Rose, frankly, working class or no freaking working class, Rose is an insufferable bitch. I hate her, and I've always hated her. And I'm kind of flabbergasted that so many people love her so much. She is such an annoying bitch. But you know what? I'm judging her as an individual. I'm not judging working class people or blondes or British people or women or whatever the fuck. Rose is an insufferable bitch of a character because of who she is as an individual. And you know how I know? Because it wasn't Billie Piper's fault. And I know this because she came back to play the Moment in the 50th anniversary special. And the Moment, in one, 2-hour episode, managed to be more likable in 2 hours than Rose was in her entire tenure as a character. And I freaking hate that for like the majority of David Tennant's tenure, he was basically defined by his constant obsession over Rose as kind of the one who got away. I freaking hate Rose, and I hate even more that she became the most specialist person ever in the Doctor's life, when you consider that the Doctor had, up until that point, had 9 other incarnations and dozens of companions of all sorts of different backgrounds and species, and yet it was Rose that allowed him to defeat the Carrionites by saying that name keeps me fighting. Fuck Adric, I guess, the first major companion to die on the Doctor's watch. Was it? No, Ace was Seven's. Ace was Seven's girl.
What about
Joe.
What about the Doctor? The first Doctor's granddaughter.
Yeah, fuck Susan, who he had to leave for personal reasons. Fuck Joe, who the Doctor, Pertwee's Doctor, literally, poured out a glass of sherry to toast her when she had to disappear. Fuck Sarah Jane Smith, the one who waited for him for years and who actually followed in his footsteps to carry on his dream and so on. Fuck well, I guess Amy came later, but the thing that absolutely frustrates me about Rose is like it's not even that she is a Mary Sue, because she isn't. She is insufferably incompetent. One of the many reasons why I do not like Rose, and I really don't want her legacy to be this perfect companion. But she was treated as though she were a Mary Sue, even though she wasn't written as one, which is a step above modern day writing, because they both write characters as Mary Sues and then treat them like Mary Sues. But Rose was kind of patient zero for the Doctor essentially worshipping his companions as gods. And I really hate that. I felt like it was much more earned with Amy, because her whole connection with the Doctor was all about that sort of mystical, whimsical sentimentality. He first met her when she was a little girl, and she kept believing in him, kept waiting for him until she was an adult. That is much more meaningful, I think, than just Rose, who was a girl in a shop until 5 minutes before she met the Doctor, and did nothing of substance particularly important relative to the other companions throughout the series, and yet he still views her as this, unattainable goal, or lost one who got away.
So moving
And
on.
again, yeah, moving on.
Sorry, I feel like you could go on for hours.
I could. Rose is terrible, and the way she was handled was even more terrible.
Alongside the steady drip of LGBTQ plus side characters, in 2008, Freema Agyeman made history as the first full-time black female companion, Martha Jones. Did she?
And well, I mean Mickey, but that's, I guess, full time is the modifier there. But more to the point. You know what was unique about Martha? Wasn't her fucking skin tone. It was her as an individual character, especially after she was the one who followed Rose, who for some reason everyone loves, even though she never earned any of that love. But
Okay.
I've already beaten that dead horse. But more to the point, Martha was cool, not because she was a black woman, not because she was some kind of avatar of blackness or womanness, but because of who she was as an individual. The fact that she was a doctor, for example, the fact that she actually had medical training, and the fact that she alone, again, one of the things that Russell T Davies' first tenure did really well, because he actually was, at that point at least, a fan of the franchise and wanted to do callbacks, was seeing how, as Davros put it, the Doctor takes ordinary people and he fashions them into weapons. The fact that he can take a girl from a shop and turn her into an interdimensional traveler, the fact that he can take a young inexperienced doctor who hasn't yet got her medical degree and turn her into a high-ranking government official who has access to the Osterhagen key, and Martha can also be the woman who wanders and saves the world when the Doctor is absent, and so on. The fact that he can turn Donna into into one of the first Time Lord human hybrids, and so on. And let's not even get into the awesomeness that was Stephen Moffat's tenure with Amy, Rory, and River, because that same thing applies to them as well. The fact that you can take Joe Schmo off the street effectively and turn them into these sci-fi badasses simply by virtue of their exposure to and interactions with the Doctor. That was what was cool about Martha, about Donna, about Amy, about Rory, about River. Although, admittedly, we got a little bit of a peek as to where River's story was going beforehand, but details.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that's nothing. Yes, very much spoilers. But point being, these characters were valuable because of who they were as individuals. Seeing Mickey, for example, go from this kind of bumbling stooge who followed Rose around like a puppy into turning him into someone who could take charge of an army as and when the need arises. Again, Sarah Jane, she was as much as I love Amy Pond and calling her the girl who waited makes sense because of who she was and what she did. Sarah Jane, more than anyone, was probably the girl who waited first, because not only did she wait for him in the meantime, while she was waiting for him, she got off her ass and essentially made herself into a surrogate of the Doctor. She went from being this naive girl to being this woman who could stare Davros in the face and effectively, in more polite words, tell him to go fuck himself, etc. and so on. That's what makes these characters interesting, who they are as individual characters. Moving on.
One episode, Family of Blood, sees her proving her worth as a black female doctor while trapped in the past. At the time, Ajiman. Again, I'm terrible with names. Please bear with me. I'm sorry.
Acumen.
Acumen.
Yeah, if it's referring to Martha's actress, it's Freena Acumen is her name.
Okay, Acumen. Sorry. Acumen faced racist backlash from the public, which she later revealed. What I did not anticipate, maybe I was naive, was the racism from certain sectors of the fan base. Yeah, I couldn't rationalize that.
I'm gonna have to see receipts on that one because I don't remember anyone giving a shit about Martha. I saw some people hating on Martha because she wasn't Rose, and maybe Freena is just interpreting that as racist. But if so, that's her interpretation. That's not what I'm sure there were assholes, because there will always be assholes and there will always be morons who see race as an issue when race is categorically not an issue. But most of the backlash that Martha got, as I recall, was the fact that she wasn't Rose, which I don't agree with at all. I liked Martha much, much better than Rose, and if anything, I wish that she had stayed on longer. But I also like that, unlike a lot of the Doctor's companions, Martha was the one to walk away from him because she wanted more of her own life, which is something that, especially in New Who, is very exceedingly rare. Most of the time, you either die with the Doctor or you end up getting timey-wimey eviscerated somehow, like with Rory, like with Amy, like with River to some degree. Most of the time, especially in New Who, you ride or die with the Doctor. Martha is unique in the sense that she was the one to walk away, not because she didn't like the Doctor anymore, not because she didn't want to travel with him, but because she wanted something more for herself. And so she became this, again, badass bitch who advises UNIT and so on and so forth. And good for Martha.
Nah, never mind.
What were you gonna say?
Well, it was a question that would have put us down to a rabbit hole and would have made this last longer. We need to get through this article.
Yes.
It was mainly just a question on lore of Doctor Who.
Okay.
All right. Since the early reboot days, the woke momentum has only picked up, and with it, the accuracy of the representation. Behind the scenes, screenwriters such as Vinay Patel and Mallory Blackman have pinned historic stories about partisan and the civil rights movement, while Sigun Akinola did a tenure as Doctor Who composer from 2008 to 2022. 2018 to 2022, sorry.
Again, I don't care. Two, the left wing has changed over time. It is no longer going for the same thing. The previous left wing agenda was more akin to Whig history or classical liberalism. The modern left wing agenda is very much Hegelian or neo-Hegelian, and somewhere betwixt Hegel and Gramsci in its leanings. The fact that you can't differentiate the two, or the fact that you insist on making the two some kind of continuity with each other, is a you problem. It is not a audience problem. The audience is fine with the kind of classically liberal, Gene Roddenberry type representation. They're not, however, okay with the Frankfurt School rendition of representation. These are two different concepts. Just because they euphemistically use the same word or concept as their thin end of the wedge does not mean they are the same thing or even philosophically compatible fundamentally. Moving on.
Right. Okay. On screen in recent years, under the helm of the showrunners Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall, we've seen a South Asian master, the Doctor's recurrent arch nemesis, played by Sacha Dhawan, and Joe Martin magnificently embodying the fugitive Doctor.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this on behalf of basically all of the Doctor Who fandom. The only version of the Master that is actually worthy of the name in New Who so far was Missy. John Sims was a terrible incarnation of the Master, and those other two, the ones that played opposite Jodie Whittaker, were also hugely forgettable characters. The only version of the Master that is worthy of the name in New Who so far is Missy, and she is by far and away the most lowercase d diverse of the 4 or 5 iterations of the Master that we've gotten since. But I still think that she's the best one because unlike those other iterations of the character, she actually had a unique personality that was her own, and they didn't focus on her femaleness as her defining character trait because she actually had an individual personality. She was essentially Darth Mary Poppins, effectively, and she was awesome as a result. No wonder Michelle Gomez got work off of that. But that in and of itself entails the difference. It's not just it's not just diversity for diversity's sake or making diversity central to the character. It's making a character who is interesting on their own terms and can stand up against or with any of the already pre-established characters. Just like with each new incarnation of the Doctor, they will have to prove themselves because people get sentimentally attached to their favorite iteration of the Doctor. People still are bitching that 11 wasn't 10, by the way, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. Sorry, it's just you are kind of repeating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, we've seen explicitly queer companions such as Bill Potts, Pearl Mackie, who got her almost fairy tale lesbian ending, as well as a prominent storyline featuring trans actor Yasmin Finney, who plays Donna's daughter. Need I go on? Nakuti's Doctor is not even the first time the titular hero has centered their LGBTQ plus identity in the episode. During Jodie's final season, The Flux, we saw a doomed romance between herself and Yaz. Mandip Gill. Again, I'm not good with names. Please bear with me on that. If anything, there is still a long way to go to make Doctor Who diverse, both in front and behind the camera.
No. Your diversity should not be the defining characteristic of the show. And I noticed that you're only giving examples that are in the era that those of us that criticize wokeness are criticizing. You couldn't mention any of the other previous iterations, even though there's actually an in-universe reason for the Doctor to be, I guess you could say, pansexual. Namely, that if Time Lords can wear bodies the way those of us those of us who are mortals wear clothes. Of course they would be effectively pansexual, because you never know, is your next regeneration going to be male or female? And if so, how is that going to make your sexuality lean? For example, if you wanted to actually play with this in an in-universe type way, have River show up when it was Jodie Whittaker's turn. Because, she is the wife of the Doctor. She is, well, one of the Doctor's wives. I think the TARDIS claimed that title first, but, semantics. And God only knows who he got with to have, his granddaughter Susan. But that's not...
Also, wasn't he didn't Ten marry Queen Elizabeth I?
Yes, but that's neither here nor there. Between that and between all the other things, I'm fine with saying that Time Lords are, sort of by default pansexual, because, whatever, as 10 said to, or as 11 said to 10, whatever you do in the privacy of your own regeneration is your business. But more to the point, if you actually wanted to have a story-driven reason to bring these issues up, an in-universe logic reason to bring these issues up, why was it that River never showed up during the 13th Doctor's tenure? How would she have reacted to the fact that her husband is now a woman? And moreover, how would 13 have reacted to her wife showing up and seeing, oh wait, shit, I was a man until 5 seconds ago and now I'm a woman. How does this make our relationship work? Now, River, being River, probably wouldn't have cared, because River loves the Doctor no matter what face the Doctor happens to be wearing. But that is how you could have addressed this issue and made an actual story-driven reason for it without violating in-universe logic, or without decentralizing in-universe logic. But you didn't. You warped the story out of joint to make the political point work, rather than finding a way to insert the political point in a way that makes sense for the story you're trying to tell. And that is the difference between woke storytelling and non-woke storytelling. You can have gay characters, black characters, characters of every different orientation under the sun, but you still have to abide by in-universe logic, in-universe mechanics, and in-universe characterization. Because people who are fans of a given IP are primarily fans of world-building mechanics, setting, and characters. If you have to marginalize world-building mechanics, setting, and or characters to make your point work, then your point does not work. The only way to make a story actually have those things in it and not be woke is to prioritize the in-universe logic of the IP or the franchise or the fan base over the politics. But no amount of social justice will ever tolerate that, because in the social justice framework, art is nothing but a political, philosophical, social, and moral means to an end. It's all, according to social justice, it's all about messaging. It's all about what the author's trying to say. It's all about authorial intent. It's all about theming, etc. And that is why most fans, most nerds, most geeks are absolutely anathema to critics. Because critics only see art in that didactical way, in that thematic way. They cannot bring themselves to know or care or understand about in-universe logic. Whereas fans, in general, the ones that aren't hipsters, only care about in-universe logic, characterization, consistency, etc., and couldn't give a rat's ass, for the most part, about themes or political points or moral points or whatever, unless and until those points can find a organic way of taking root in the setting. Like, sometimes you will get fans talking about themes, but to a real fan, themes are at best secondary or tertiary. They are almost never the primary driving force. And the problem with modern day critics is, to a critic, or someone educated in modern day art schools, themes are almost always the driving force in universe logic be damned.
So, sorry, it's just, again, you're
Yeah,
repeating.
moving on.
All right. If anything, there's still a long way to go to make. I read that, sorry.
Yes.
The upcoming season only features one episode from female screenwriters and none from writers of color. There's also yet to be a modern era showrunner who isn't a white man. As the show looks towards a bright future, boosted by a major global deal with Disney Plus, Nakuti's Doctor is only the beginning of everything this show can become. It is certainly not for just one demographic. Never was.
No one ever claimed it was. What we're saying is that social justice is not welcome in this IP because it is anathema to this IP, and to a fan, unlike a critic, themes and morality and politics and blah are almost always secondary to in-universe logic or characterization. But to a critic, themes and sociopolitical gobbledygook is almost always primary in universe logic be damned. That is the fundamental gulf, the fundamental divide between critics and fandom. Fans actually care about these things for their own sake. Critics almost always only care about them as a means to an end. Moving on.
All right. One thing is for sure, neither Nakuti nor returning showrunner Russell have allowed the barrage of social media hate to stop them from realizing a beautifully diverse character. The 15th Doctor has already been confirmed as unapologetically queer with a nod to Nakuti's Rwandan heritage and his character's Screwdriver through a proverb inscribed in Gallifreyan. That's actually kind of neat.
Small point, and I am in fact going to be an asshole here. If the Doctor is queer now, why is his companion a woman still? Like, if you absolutely need to bring up the fact that the Doctor is queer, which can mean a lot of things, but usually, especially in this case, tends to mean on the gay side. And let's be honest, one of the things that pisses me off about New Who is that there's always some kind of romantic angle between the Doctor and his companions. Like, almost always. And it's freaking insufferable. But, given that, like, the New Who standard is that the Doctor almost always has romantic tension with his companion, be it unrequited or be it subtextual, be it whatever. And the fact that 15 is queer, why wouldn't he choose a male companion? Why are you having this gay black man, as usual, slumming it with a white blonde woman? It's funny how that always works. No matter how many identity categories we tack onto the end of intersectional feminism, our primary concern is almost always still the victimhood of blonde upper class white women. Derp. And I'll also add this in. I think I know the reason why you didn't have the Doctor pick a male companion. And that's because, for all of this hoi polloi about LGBT nonsense, people almost always would rather see two women kissing than two men kissing. You can almost never get away with gay representation that isn't between women, because frankly, lesbians are simply the more marketable version of gay. People would rather see two women kissing than two men kissing, and that's why, even though the Doctor is gay now, you had to have him pick a female companion. Because A, we still have to have feminist credentials in here somewhere, and B, we can't have the Doctor making out with a man because that would actually be risque, and we can't actually be arsed to be risque for 5 minutes. Even though our entire worldview is dependent on us being the rebellious, edgy ones. Like, we'll claim to be edgy for, up and down and sideways, but we'll never actually do anything edgy because that would be bad. Fucking posers is what I'm saying. Moving up.
In the words of Nikuti himself, Doctor Who matters to people of color, for marginalized people who really gravitate towards the show because it's about friendship and it's about adventure and it's about union and unity. There's something in Doctor Who for everyone, not just the few. So while the haters continue shouting into the void about the identity of a fictional alien, I'll be switching on every Saturday night to see the human race celebrated in all its glory. If someone has a problem with that, they know where the door is.
See, you know what? Screw this, because what you just said there is something that no fan would ever say. Almost no actual fan uses the word fictional when they're describing their favorite IP, because irrespective of the fact that it is fictional, real fans care about, as I say, the in-universe logic, the in-universe consistency of the characters. We care about these characters because we actually have a investment in them, even if they are fictional. And therefore, it's very rare to ever see a real fan draw attention to the fictionality of their favorite thing. And honestly, the fact that you, Nikuti, the person playing the Doctor, can just lampshade him or them as a fictional alien, when frankly it is your job to portray that fictional alien and lose yourself in that character, means that you are being actively contemptuous to real fans, to people who actually unironically care about the Doctor for who and what he or they is. Moving, actually no, and more to the point. Thank you for confirming that you only see art or fiction as a means to an end. Because someone who actually cares about a character or a work of fiction or a piece of art does not lampshade it that way, does not belittle it in that way. And the fact that you are able to do it, the fact that you are able to continue belittling it while playing the character, is proof enough that you do not care about playing the character in any way that will please the fans, and that you actually have contempt for the job that you have landed. And just like Christopher Eccleston before you, I will say to you what I said to Christopher Eccleston. If you don't want to be there, Nikuti, if you do see it as some kind of means to an end, if you think that playing this fictional alien is so unimportant that you can just lampshade it, there is the door, because there are.
Now that was the writer at the end. That was the writer of the article at the end.
Oh well, in any case, if you can lampshade the importance of the Doctor while being involved with this franchise, then you are the one who needs to leave, because there are dozens of people, there are millions of actors who would give their right testicle to play a character as important, as influential, and as meaningful as the Doctor. And if you don't actually appreciate what's been given to you, then you can go fuck yourself. And you deserve every ounce of contempt the fan base can spoon up in your direction. Moving on.
All right.
I'm sorry, but that really gets my goat, because this allergy they have to sincerity is utterly baffling. They don't know what it's like to care about a character for the character's own sake. They don't understand it.
Right. Okay. So this is an article I sent.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Wrap.com. Donnie Yen to star in John Wick spin-off film from Lionsgate. Originally this was written by Humberto Gonzalez and published May 15th, 2024. Production will kick off in Hong Kong next year.
Donnie Yen is always a win, so I have
And
no complaints.
Kane was really awesome in John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lionsgate will expand the billion-dollar John Wick franchise as the studio is developing a film for Donnie Yen to reprise his role in a new movie centered around Kane, his character from John Wick Chapter 4. The company announced on Wednesday, last Wednesday. So that would be the, what would that be?
I want to say that would be the 13th? No. What is today?
Sunday. I'm sorry. Did you
Well,
ask what
yes,
today
but
is?
yes,
The
as
19th.
in the date. Thank you. So Sunday to Sunday would be
That's 5 days ago.
7.
So that would be the 4th. It would be the 14th then.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, production will commence in Hong Kong next year with the long line. While the long line is being kept under wraps, the new film will continue Kane's story arc following the events of Chapter 4, as he's been freed from his obligations to the High Table. But has to deal with the daughter of one of his former friends that he killed in Chapter 4. So yeah, he might be fucked.
Yeah, I suspect this is going to end up being a just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in sort of situation.
To be fair, that was John Wick's whole thing too. So
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't strike me that there is actually, I mean, short of actually dying or being so crippled that you can't fight anymore, I don't think there really is a way to be free of your obligations to the table.
or dead.
Which is good because I the thing that keeps me coming back to the John Wick franchise isn't the guns and the shoot 'em upping. It's the hospitality politics. So I'm all game for this old world obligation shit.
From the moment Donnie Yen appeared on screen in John Wick Chapter 4, he captivated audiences and created an authentic emotional connection that left an indelible mark and had fans asking for more. Adam Fogelson, chair of Lionsgate Motion Picture Group, said in a statement to The Wrap. The John Wick universe that Chad, Basil, Erica, and Keanu had built offers a tapestry of fascinating characters brought to life by the most extraordinary performers, and we're excited to have one of the world's biggest superstars on board to continue this journey.
I mean, yeah, like I say, Donnie Yen was a win. Donnie Yen says, "I want to continue doing the character." You say, how much money do you want in that like tech? Donnie Yen is one of the actors who is like
Hey, Dalton, you're going robot.
will be setting back.
Hello? Uh, huh. I don't know what to do here. Uh, okay, you can hear me now, Drencho. That's good. Uh, hmm. I I'll give them a little bit more time. Uh, hmm. Okay. Uh, huh. Well, okay. I guess. I don't know what's up. It's weird. I'm usually the one that's constantly cutting out. Uh, well, kind of moving on with the article, I guess. So we're not just having dead air. Uh, working on John Wick was an extraordinary experience. Yin added. The reason these films resonate so deeply is because, like myself, Chad, Basil, and Erica push themselves to create action, fights, and stunts that are not only thrilling, inventive, and artistic, but also expressive of character, story, and emotion. Kane is an incredible character with a haunted past, and I am excited to return to the role. Uh, I mean, I really got nothing to say to that. I mean, it's cool that he's uh, so happy to play the character, and involved with it. Some actors, they're just there to make a dime, but I think you can tell when something is good that everyone enjoys it and puts in their all for it. And I think Donnie Yen did do that with John Wick Chapter 4. Um, the new film was developed as part of Chad Stahelski's recently announced deal with Lionsgate, overseeing the expansion of the John Wick universe. It will be shepherded by franchise producers Thunder Roads, Basil, Iwanek, and Erica Lee, John Wick chapters 1 to 4, Ballerina and Monkey Man, and Stahelski, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, Day Shift, and John Wick Chapter 4. And also will be directing Ballerina, who produces through his 8711 or 8711 Entertainment Production banner. The screenplay of the new film is being written by Robert Askins, a Tony nominee for his play to God and a veteran of the Umbrella Academy and AMC's The Sun. Oh, that's not bad. Pretty good. The next film in the John Wick universe is Ballerina, which stars Ana de Armas as an assassin trained in the traditions of Resca Roma. The film, directed by Lynn Wiseman, written by Shay Hatton, based on characters created by Derek Collett, and produced by Iwanek Lee and Stahelski, will be released on June 6, 2025.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Had to unplug your router and stuff?
Huh?
Had to unplug your router?
Yeah, I had to flip my network connection off and then on again. Does it work?
Yeah, welcome to what I deal with. I was just finishing the article. Nothing too crazy. We got Chad Stahelski is going to be directing it, obviously, Kane's movie, and a writer known as Robert Askins.
Okay, I'm less concerned than I was then if Chad Stahelski is staying with the franchise. Because
Yeah.
I figured they would try to force it off on a new director, and they didn't so good.
No. And apparently, someone named Lynn Wiseman uh, is going to be directing Ballerina. Huh. I'm actually not too worried now because I looked up his stuff. He directed most of pretty. It looks like to be all of the Underworld movies. Hello. Uh. Shit. And Dalton's gone again. Seriously, what the hell is going on? All right. Well, we're gonna wait for Dalton again. Um, if this does keep being a present thing for tonight, we might just have to call it there. Unfortunately. Um, I'll give him like 5 minutes or so. Um, okay, moving on. Yin is represented by the Independent Artist Group and by Pecco NG at Bullet Films. Robert Askins is represented by WME and Grandview. All right, well, hold on. Okay, well, since I am not a singer, but I will read stuff until Dalton gets back. I will read Broken Dreams Incorporated by Rise Against. I will read it. I will not sing it because I do not have the vocal inflection to do so. I have seen what you call progress, every warning sign ignored, and there's a muffled voice of reason, but we can't make out the words. And through the and though the balance we struck was delicate, there was a sense of right and wrong. We tried to stem this flow with a tourniquet, but now the patient's dead and gone. When we owe more than we're worth, and they're changing the locks on the door, we raise glasses high on the bottom line. On a street engulfed in flames, yeah, but on goes the show. When the city streets are barricaded, a chaos we ourselves created. When there's nothing left, tell me, where will you go? When the factories are automated, Broken Dreams Incorporated. Gather your things, for there's nowhere to go. We are children of illicit gods, better angels, darker days, but we're holding on to this cause like palm trees in a hurricane. We chased every second in clothes that we slept in, but they still got away. When the city streets are barricaded, a chaos we ourselves created. There's nothing left, tell me, where will you go? When the factories are automated, Broken Dreams Incorporated. Uh, gather your things, for there's nowhere to go, nowhere to go. Was this place ever our home? Were these lines ever our own? Are we just reading from the pages? Yeah, just putting on a show. Are you along just for the ride? Keep all hands and feet inside. Will you steer us all to safety so at least they know you tried? Broken Dreams Incorporated. No longer asking, we are taking, and tomorrow will be what we make it. Hmm. All right. Huh.
There we go. Finally. Fuck.
At least now you know how I feel.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't miss much. I just read the last of the article. There wasn't, again, it's not really much to talk about with that, to be fair.
Hmm.
Um,
Next, hoping that this stays stable while we continue. 'Cause
funny,
fuck me.
a storm just started, or it's raining right now outside, which actually is giving me a nice breeze. So
Well, that's good.
yeah. Yeah. Give it a second. It's loading. I probably should have done that while you were gone. To be fair.
I feel like freaking Vox right now. Oops, I'm afraid you've lost your signal.
Yeah. Oh. Broken Dreams Incorporated by Rise Against. It was actually because I was reading a song. You know, I do poems or I read the songs. I can't sing worth a damn. So, um, yeah. Hold on. I'll write it for you so you know it, Dragon Turtle.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
I
Anyway, I
remember.
apologize for our for the regularly scheduled technical difficulties interrupting our regularly scheduled programming. But then again, it wouldn't be a podcast of the Storm episode without technical difficulties. I'm just glad your internet is holding up. Because imagine
Yeah,
if
I'll
we
be
were
honest.
both going through it.
Oh, it'd be so fucked. All right.
Oh dear.
Um, but yeah, the song is actually from a metal album that was for the event Dark Knight's Metal or DC Death Metal, I believe.
Hmm.
Uh, it was really good, and I liked listening to it. But yeah, here you go. It's in the chat, Dragon Turtle. There you
Hmm.
go. Uh, God, that thing is still loading. Uh, I mean, I don't have Dish anymore, so I should be good on internet. Although it's T-Mobile, so yeah, no problem,
Wah,
Dragon Turtle.
wah, wah, wah.
All right. This is something Dome wanted to talk about. Though, granted, I was interested in this, but with everything that's come out about this show and how long it's taken to come out, it has like this. I have lost interest in it.
I want it to be good. I
Uh,
really
so,
do. It's like the only thing other than Deadpool 3 that I'm still like actually excited for with regards to the MCU.
yeah. So yeah, this was from the Wrap.com. Marvel's Agatha All Along trailer returns to the witchy world of WandaVision. Catherine Hahn will return, flanked by Joe Locke, Patty LePeau, and more. This was written by Andy Ortiz and Jacob Bryant, published May 14th, 2024.
Hmm.
I think I mentioned this before when we have covered it in the past. And unfortunately, and I asked on this, fortunately, the trailer was not released on YouTube, but like, what'd you say, a private thing?
Yeah, they released the footage at a private event, so the only thing I could find were descriptions, hence the article.
Uh, um, and I think I mentioned this before. I like the first title about the show that came out was House of Harkness. I liked that a lot more than Agatha All Along or whatever because they were like they went through like a few different titles, right?
Yeah, first it was House of Harkness, then it was Agatha, then it was Darkhold Diaries, then they finally came to Agatha All Along, which honestly, I'm of the opinion that it should have been called Agatha All Along to begin with, because that was the name of the song that got everyone on board with Agatha, and also it's going to probably be the theme song, because if it isn't the theme song, then someone needs to be fired for lack of fucking logical thinking.
Hmm.
But then again, at least we'll get a theme song. I am so over shows not having theme music and title sequences and shit. It annoys me.
Oh no, I'm with you. I'm honestly sick of. Yeah, no, same here actually. Yeah, yeah. I'm sick of just like the title card and with like a because they actually like there are actual composers who've done actual themes for the shows. Like Arrow bugged the shit out of me because I would listen to that song, like the actual theme of Arrow,
Mhm.
but it's just like a fuck. It's played for like a second and just a title card. That's it.
So,
What the fuck?
yeah, similar complaint. Stop putting your title card at the end of the movie.
Oh, dude. Hell, I mean, even the other Marvel shows did that. Like they had these really awesome title sequences at the end of the fucking episodes.
Yeah, I don't.
What the fuck?
I don't want your title sequence at the end of your movie. I want the title sequence at the beginning of the movie where it
That's
fucking
the,
belongs,
that's the point of a fucking title sequence.
to get you into the atmosphere of the show. Like
Like,
even Multiverse of Madness did that. As much as I love Multiverse of Madness, in spite of its flaws, that was fucking irritating. The way, because the actual like stylized portion of the credits and the title card could have made a really interesting, good title card. And
you got a point.
I can't remember the last time a superhero movie actually had a title sequence, let alone a superhero show. It fucking
Uh,
annoys me.
Fair. You got a point, Dragon Turtle. Um, I think, to be fair, for me in general, yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair. Um, you said, while I'm not going to turn down good theme songs and intro sequences, I don't think they are necessary. And considering you prefer things to be musicals, I think you are a bit biased. I mean, he's not wrong.
Everything is better with music. God damn it!
All right.
I'm sick of shows not having them, because because the thing is, a title sequence or a theme tune is supposed to set the tone of the show before you watch it. That's that's why so many of the greatest shows of our childhoods are as well regarded for their theme songs or their intro sequences as they are for the actual content of the show.
To be fair, they still do. I mean, some shows do title sequences and good music with that. It is a rarity these days. I will admit that. Um, Ones that come to mind are like,
Honestly, it seems like good theme music in general is kind of becoming a lost art, because I can't remember the last like iconic theme tune of a movie or a show that I watched that actually stuck with me.
all right. Anyway,
I
shall
mean,
we?
I guess Avengers has the, do 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 do, but that's about it really as far as themes go.
Uh, Anyway, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Marvel's Agatha All Along, which picks up on the witch played by Catherine Hahn and introducing WandaVision, will have its 2-episode premiere September 18th on Disney Plus. The company announced during its upfront presentation Tuesday. Hahn took to the stage with co-stars Joe Locke and Patty Lupone, I think, and confirmed the series would be Agatha All Along, a reference to the beloved song performed by Hahn in WandaVision. during the villain's reveal. Oh wait, she sung that? Huh.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Kudos.
But and more to the point, like I said, why that wasn't the first option, I will never fucking know. But also thing about the date, I'm of two minds on it because September is earlier than I thought it would be. But then again, if I were Marvel, if I were in charge of like marketing the show, I would have given it an October release date because Halloween is very witchy oriented, and I think that would benefit the show. Then again, I suppose if the show starts coming out in mid-September and drops like an episode a week, that means its season finale will be sometime around Halloween, probably, because shows are too short now and have not nearly enough episodes. But that is yet another soapbox of mine.
To be fair, I mean I don't disagree with you. I think the issue is they never used the limited episodes or the time. They never use it properly.
That's something I will say for Has Been. They actually did manage to tell a story succinctly enough in 8 episodes that I wasn't feeling the need for more episodes. Then again, at times the pacing was too fast, and they probably could have benefited from at least 4 more episodes to space things out a little bit more. But then again, I am of the opinion that if you have a concept for a TV show and you can't fill 13 to 24 episodes, you don't actually have a full-fledged idea for a TV show. You have a beginning concept, and you need to actually develop the concept more so that it entails more episodes.
All right. Han and WandaVision. Sorry. For those wondering, that's at least the third title this show has had since it was first announced, following Agatha, Coven of Chaos, and Agatha: The Darkhold Diaries. House of Harkness, also my favorite, to be fair.
I forgot Coven of Chaos was a thing, but yes, that was also a one. So we're at the fourth title sequence, or the fourth title, and it's the obvious correct one that should have been the first option, but oh well.
Right, I'll be right back.
Okay. Hopefully I don't die technologically in the meantime.
Well, let me read the next paragraph, and then I'll disappear real quick. Agatha All Along takes place after the events of WandaVision and Han's title character stripped of her powers by Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff and stuck in Westview. A brief teaser showed Agatha putting together a team of witches to try and get her abilities back.
See, this is a small criticism I have of this. I can understand showing her still under Wanda's spell, like showing her still in the noisy neighbor trap. But I don't see how that results in her losing her powers, especially given the classic, when a witch dies, assuming that, Wanda is dead, all her spells are undone, thing. I assumed the show would open with her getting out of her mental block that Wanda put her in and using her powers to basically sort of do her own version of WandaVision. I don't like the idea of her being powerless for most of the show. Because one of the things that made Agatha so interesting was that she was an experienced witch. Quite frankly, as far as writing goes and as far as like magic literacy goes, I think Agatha might be the most magically literate character in the entire MCU, because not even the Ancient One went into as much detail as Agatha does with regards to how magic actually works, which is a failure of the writing of the MCU's part, because fucking hell, go into the mechanics, goddammit. But I don't like the idea of Agatha being powerless. Her being as powerful as she was and as competent at magic as she was one of the appeals to her character. She has kind of classic Disney villainous energy, and having her being stripped of that and essentially disenchanted, so to speak, is lame.
I'm back.
Anyway,
Uh,
yes, and just in time because we're ready to move on.
yeah. Giant Turtle, but don't why draw the line there? You could say if you can't pull a multi-decade franchise out of it, then you have. Oh, sorry. Okay, let me read that. If you can't pull a multi-decade franchise out of it, then you had an underdeveloped or bad idea.
I didn't say the idea was bad. That's a bit of a straw man, but I will say that for a TV show, yes, you should want as many episodes per season as they will let you have. Short of that, you do and this is the other thing. It's not just that they're making TV shows have fewer episodes. They're making TV shows have the number of episodes that you would usually attribute to a mini series, and calling it the same as the concept of the mini series has all but vanished and been replaced with this shorter season concept. And again, if you're making a TV show, then you should want at least 10 to 20 hours of content in a TV show format um, per season. And moreover, one of the reasons I prefer that length of episodes per a TV show season is because it allows for multiple arcs to be a thing. One of the criticisms that I have of modern day episode length or modern day episode types is they seem to cut the seasons off with arcs, as in one character goes through one arc and that is the end of a season, etc. Um, and that's not a good way of that's not a time efficient way of doing a TV show. If you're gonna make a movie, then you have an excuse to make only 2 or 3 hours of content. That's a movie. But if you're gonna make a TV show, then you should expect at least 10 to 20 episodes of content, or 10 or 20 hours of content. If you're gonna make a mini series, then by all means, like 4 to 6 episodes is fine. But a actual TV show should have between 13 and 26 episodes, depending on whether depending also on whether you're doing half an hour episodes or hour long episodes. That also is a difference. But more to the point, it's simply not a good use of formatting when you're making a TV show versus when you're making a movie. There's a reason why we have different formats for different kinds of stories to be told. You have movies for stuff that can be told within 2 to 3 hours. Shows are supposed to occupy your time for between 10 and 20 hours, depending. And if they can't, then your idea is probably still in its conceptual phase. It's like when me and Brainstormer bounce ideas back and forth. How many times have you come to me with a one-off concept, and I have workshopped it to the point that it is now a universe? That's the kind of stuff that people not only ought not only should it be commonplace, but that's what you should do with an idea. If you're going to make a long-running series out of it, you should actually make a long-running series out of it. Don't just make enough to do a mini series and then call it a season. Call it a mini series if it's a mini series, because words mean things, god damn it, and formats are there for a goddamn reason. Movies are for 2 to 3 hours. Shows are for 10 to 20 hours. And beyond that, it's probably best to move into multimedia stuff rather than sticking to one format, because that would result in things getting convoluted. Moving on.
All right. I thought I already read that. After a massive shake-up to Marvel's TV slate last year, Agatha became one of the few series to keep a 2024 release alongside X-Men 97, which sees its season finale this week, and Echo, which dropped in full on Hulu and Disney Plus at the start of this year.
Oh god, Echo was lame. Like, I really want Agatha to be good because it's literally, apart from Deadpool 3, the only thing I'm looking forward to MCU-wise.
The series stars Han alongside Locke, Lapone, Plaza, Sashir Zamata, Elion, and Deborah Jo Rupp. It's created by Jack Schaefer, the creator of WandaVision, who also serves as head writer just as she did on the earlier series. Okay, well.
I'm not looking forward to that. That scares me. I do not like Jack Schaefer. I like the writers of the episodes that featured Agatha, specifically episode 8 of WandaVision, and then episode 9 completely nerfed it, but I don't like Jack Schaefer. I think another showrunner would have been better.
Okay. Agatha All Along wasn't the only MCU TV project to get updates at Disney's upfronts. It was also announced that the hotly anticipated Daredevil Born Again series starring Charlie Cox, which continues the saga begun in Netflix's Daredevil series, drops March 25th. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Ironheart also premiere at some point in 2025.
I can't believe they're still going ahead with the Ironheart series. Even in the comics, that is not a well liked character. I still can't believe they're doing Ironheart. And moreover, if they're gonna do Ironheart, why wouldn't they do it with Morgan Stark, Tony's actual daughter in the MCU? That's been my biggest complaint about Ironheart from the get go. Instead of making Ironheart a passing of the torch show with Tony's daughter Morgan, because he has a daughter in the MCU, they come up with this completely different character, Riri, who has no personal connection to Iron Man whatsoever. She just sort of drops out of the ether.
There was also a Drencher. I say format can be flexible. That I agree with. Those times are fairly arbitrary, but in total length, yeah, I agree. Make it full length or call it mini.
Cause that's the thing. We have something for the middle ground. That's what the phrase a mini series is for. And one of my biggest complaints about modern day show formatting is most of the time it's related to one of my criticisms of modern day writing in general, which is they always publish the rough draft. And how that relates to this is it very much seems like people in Hollywood decided, if we just call a miniseries the norm now, if we just make the miniseries length the normal show length, then we can get away with telling much more simplistic stories or pacing things much quicker than they should be and not doing the necessary world building or padding to make a full-fledged show, which is lame. And in the meantime, the format of a miniseries is all but vanished because what used to be called the miniseries is the norm now, episode-wise. Moving on.
Yeah, give me a second. We are gonna the trailer we were gonna watch was Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, season 2 trailer. We're gonna save that for next week just for time's sake, and also just in case Dalton disappears again.
Yep. The curse of technical difficulties has befallen us again.
But also because I'll be fully honest, given the other topic we're going to talk about, I do want to end on something fairly positive.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, apparently, last week, Dalton made the declaration that he was going to do his own edited version of the Superman teaser image.
Mm-hmm.
Which he has, and I've also brought out the original and mine, so they can all be compared. I'm going to show the first one. Give me 1 second. So we have that for comparison. All right, that's the original.
Mm-hmm.
and we already discussed it last week, obviously.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I actually found one that edited Jensen Ackles as Batman in this pose and everything else.
Mm.
And honestly, it did really make me think this is very much a Batman pose.
Yeah, as usual, people for some reason keep trying to write Superman as if he were Batman,
Yeah.
rather than
Okay.
understanding the differences and nuances of the characters.
Okay, so that was the original one. Then I will bring up mine as well, just so again have that comparison. Because, hold on. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I had the one right. Okay, this one's mine. I know now actually looking at it back to back, mine isn't all that different compared to the actual one.
Mm-hmm.
Just brighter, I guess, which I guess what I was trying to go for is be subtle as possible.
Mm.
Alright. And then now Dalton's. Oh, God damn it. Okay, there we go. Share screen.
I was not trying to be subtle because, frankly, I felt like the entire original conception of the thing was wrong, so I did my damnedest to fix it. Full stop. Obviously, I didn't have, professional editing tools or anything. I literally just did this using the basic bitch ass photo editing tools on my phone, and it took me like 4 or 5 passes using those editing tools and about 10 minutes at like 6:30 in the freaking morning.
I will say, I think
was...
it. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think with the editing that you and I both do, it becomes more evident of the green screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that's a dig at us or anything. I'm just saying, like,
No, I blame
really
Warner Brothers for that because even in the original image, it looks the stuff in the window looks very cheap.
Yeah. Although I will say, compared to mine, the background of yours looks far more visually striking. Yeah. 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 Though that could make the energy beam a bit more. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was
Yeah,
trying to I was trying to capture the like the vibrancy and the color of the character, him, like Silver Agey type stuff. I also, as reference, I was looking at like the original Fleischer cartoons.
I think for one thing, when he first showed me this on Thursday, I don't think I articulated enough, and I'm not gonna lie, and it's not dig at you, Don. I think I sort of hurt his feelings because I was trying to articulate what I meant by it. I wasn't trying to insult him or anything. I was just saying, like, given that I've seen you do editing for other images, and this is similar to what you do, that's what I meant. Like that, this is definitely your style.
Yeah,
Reality.
when the way he put it on Thursday made it sound like I completely fucked up, and I felt really bad because obviously Superman is not really my character. That, like, this is not my wheelhouse, but I was trying to do right by the character, especially because one of my best friends is a massive Superman fan. So I was trying to channel like the colorfulness and the innocence and the sort of iconography of Superman as much as possible, bearing in mind, again, I only had the phone tools on my phone, but or the photo editing tools on my phone.
I guess what I should have said was what Drantro said. It looks super trippy. Like it looks. I'm gonna be honest. It's like Frank Herbert's Dune, like that movie that had. I remember the movie that had like a lot of designs and it wasn't got made for Dune. The one I think he wanted to be made the most, but never got made.
The
Uh,
Jodorowsky one? Jodorowsky's Dune?
yes, and Jack Kirby mixed that with also a bunch of fucking cocaine.
Well, I mean, I was essentially trying to keep the fan complaints in mind, and one of the consistent fan complaints that I get from every person I know who is a Superman fan and just general, trolling online and stuff is people in modern Hollywood want to try anything and everything to desaturate Superman, to remove the color, to remove the aw shucks innocence vibes, to remove the silver aginess, to remove the like inspirational innocence and so on of the character. So it was like, okay, looking at the Fleischer cartoons and Superman the Animated Series and the Christopher Reeve movies and stuff for reference, looking at Dean Cain's Clark and Lois New Adventures of Superman, looking at looking at Smallville, looking at all of the the best iterations of Superman that have come out, especially on TV recently, and comparing it to the versions that people didn't like, the Henry Cavill ones, all of the various evil Supermans and stuff. What makes Superman Superman? And I was trying to, and also I was trying to keep in mind this is a James Gunn product. So how can we do this in such a way that it will capture the stuff that has been missing in all of the iterations of Superman that people don't like, and also catch what the fans have been missing and what they want from the character, while simultaneously keeping in mind that this is a James Gunn project, and so it's going to have a lot of his influences in it. And, how can we make this version of Superman distinct from the previous versions by, making use of the fact that we have more visual technology now than we ever have before. And that was my attempt. And again, if it were up to me, I would have fixed the blotches in his suit as well. But again, I don't have Adobe Premiere Pro on my phone or anything, and I was limited to the resources of a random smuck on the internet playing with his phone for 10 minutes. So there's that. I really, really wish I could have edited his expression to make him fucking smile, because the 1,000-watt smile is something that's very iconically Superman's thing. But again, limited resources, so I did the best I could with what I had. And moreover, it occurred to me as I was playing with the basic bitch-ass tools on my phone that if I can do this with 4 or 5 passes of it on my phone, how is it that no one at Warner Brothers marketing department thought, hey, let's bring up the color, bring up the saturation, because this is goddamn Superman, goddammit. But yeah, that was my attempt to fix it. I don't know if I did very well, but I attempted.
To be fair, again, the main issue is the photo itself.
Yeah, I only had there were only so many things I could do to change it from what it originally was, without kind of breaking the picture. Because the thing is, when you're playing with photo tools and you're limited to the resources of your fucking phone, if you add too many layers or too many filters over top of something, it'll start depixelating. It'll start being very, very, very heavily pixelated, and I didn't want that to happen. So,
Right.
so I was trying to make as many changes as I could in minor ways so that the end result would be a massive difference. I don't know how different it looks to you guys. Obviously, I'm biased because I made the thing, but I hope I made it sufficiently better than the first one.
just to quote Giant Turtle, that one looks it's trippy looking, and I'm not saying that as an insult or anything. I'm honestly, it is kind of more of a compliment because yeah, you're right. That would be more James Gunn style.
Yeah, it's Silver Age meets James Gunn meets it's goddamn Superman, so make him colorful and interesting and innocent and shit. Because
All right,
duh.
so speaking of Superman, I brought this up last week, and I have two of them.
Hmm.
Fan trailers for Superman Legacy. Now, the first one is by because I watch these things because I really appreciate the work that is put into them, and often I do like often they depict a movie that honestly should be or movie that could have been.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just something to end on, nicely. Um,
Hmm.
so this is the first one by Dr. Flashpoint. He's a pretty prominent fan made trailer dude.
Mm.
He's up there with like Ultra Sergeant, and if anyone doesn't know what Ultra Sergeant is, he well, he did a lot of editing stuff for like the CW shows in terms of like fan made stuff. Even did a Marvel and DC fan made crossover series that was actually really good and cool.
Hmm.
Uh, if anyone's interested, just let me know and I can post that like in the Discord. So uh,
In fairness, I think the aspect that looks trippy to you, Dragon Turtle, is just as present in the original photo, which is what the fuck is the name of the star creature that is doing the lasering outside the window?
Solaris the Tyrant Star.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the name. But yeah, the original photo also contains Solaris. It's just desaturated like a motherfucker, which aside from anything else is not something I would expect from James Gunn. But
All right, so I don't know what we do.
fruit pies?
I was gonna say apple pie.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, let me know if you can hear this. Hold on, let me turn up the volume a bit. Okay. Yep. Apple pie.
Apple pie. This is gonna make me hungry.
Son, I know it hasn't been easy. You're gonna be here long after I'm gone.
Morning. People think I'm
So I do want to point out these trailers were made like a little over a year ago when it was just David Cornsworth who was announced. So
Hmm.
fan made trailer creators had to come up with the rest of the cast. So they're both very different in terms of like the other cast.
Hmm.
Like Josh
Are there
Duhamel
any
as
that were made after the full announcement of the cast?
none I could find, to be honest.
Hmm.
Or none that I'm aware of. I could be wrong. But usually when a movie like this is announced first time, there are a few trailers made, and then I don't think they're unless again I could be wrong. I could take a quick look. But just to explain why you were seeing Josh Duhamel as Jonathan Kent.
Hmm. That's not bad as fan castings go.
Yeah. There's also a reason why it's Superman Legacy trailer fan made trailer. So
Because they dropped the contradictory title thing
yeah, hold on.
eventually.
I'm yeah. Give me a second. I'm looking up see if there were any made recently. Uh, There were like a couple, but it looks like I'll be honest. These the two I'm showing here are like my favorite because they seem the most well done.
Mm.
Like there was one made a month ago, but I don't know. And it was still calling itself Superman Legacy. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right,
Apple
apple
pie.
pie.
I goddamn make myself hungry with that.
I don't know if I really am.
Every evil you can imagine is going to rise up against you, against mankind. But one day you're going to be stronger than anyone else in the world.
Sometimes, like, I'm feeling the whole world at once. I don't think I could do it.
And in those moments, the only thing.
And I realized this as I was listening to the speech Josh Duhamel was giving. It's from Jupiter's Legacy.
You're right. It is. It's the one that
It
Samson
gives,
was or Sheldon was giving to Brandon.
yeah, that's a good show, and it sucked it never really got off the ground.
Yeah, I don't like. People wanted it to be The Boys so bad, and I don't know why, because it was very
Fuck The
obviously
Boys.
not giving The Boys.
Man, fuck The Boys. And honestly, no offense to Mark Millar or Miller, it would be Millar. He's going to come up with ideas for, like, he gives good ideas for stories, but it's usually other people who take on his work that make it better.
Yeah, I think the show improved on the original comic concept.
Yeah. Plus, I like the costumes were cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I like just the general tone and everything. It's awe-striking. But
Is Netflix still doing the Millarverse? Are they still planning on adapting like the Magic Circle and stuff?
I have no idea. I've honestly heard nothing. But then again, I haven't watched Netflix in like a few years, so.
Because I know that was the original plan, was to make like a expanding Millarverse, but then again, Jupiter's Legacy died because people were being bitches. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, first season. Name one first season that's ever like super fucking amazing. Like, like doesn't have growing pains.
All things considered, I think they did a pretty good job, though.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
It's
Anyway,
at least as good as Umbrella Academy season 1. Which, granted, I really like Umbrella Academy season 1 too. So there's that.
Giant Turtle, if you mean the guy who made the comics, then lots of offense to him. That was just sadistic and bitter hate letter to superheroes. Are we talking Mark Millar, or are you referring to
Garth Ennis, the guy who made the original Boys comic?
I was gonna say Warren Ellis, but I knew that wasn't right.
It is so easy to get those two mixed up because they both kind of do the semi-edgy 90s comic thing, and Ennis and Ellis are very similar name-wise.
I mean, okay, so I will kind of agree with Giant Turtle on Mark Millar. I'm gonna be honest, the guy just gets edgy a lot.
He's very much a 90s comics writer.
I mean, the guy did help make the Ultimate Universe in the 2000s and Civil War.
Yeah. Then again, I would give my left bollock to have that era of comics back again. Like unironically, like, for as much as people whined about that era of comics, and for quite a lot of good reasons, mind you, compared to the comic book industry today, nah, I'll take 90s edginess back every fucking time.
I don't know. I don't think I'm that desperate. But anyway, again, I did want to mention, like, I know we're only 40 seconds in, but Again, I like this the fan trailer just because again, it's got a good style, it's got a good atmosphere, it's very awe-inspiring and stuff.
And using Utopian speech to Paragon as given that you can't actually make a Superman movie, is actually not a. It's a really good choice, actually.
Mm.
Anyway, apple pie, which I'm going to have to make food after this because I'm getting hungry just thinking about apple pie.
Your fault for not eating something.
Well, because if I eat something prior to the show, I'll have to use the bathroom in the middle of the show.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, you could have gotten up earlier. You know, like you said, you got up around 4.
In my defense, I didn't go to sleep until like 6.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
That you will have to guide you is the code. I'm so proud of you, son.
It's important. People need something to believe in.
You know, the philosopher.
Yeah, again, I just like how like inspiring this is and how like grand it all feels, which is very much
because-
Superman.
Yeah, that's what, and that's what's been missing this whole time because people, it's a fundamental failure to even. It's not even just to understand the character, because plenty of people seem to understand the character, they just don't like the character, so they have to change him to make him something else. It's both a failure to understand the character and a failure to like the character once you understand it, I think, for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people just don't believe. Fundamentally, the issue is a lot of people seem to agree with Lex Luthor. The idea that someone who is powerful can't also be good, or innocent, or pure, or naive, or however the fuck you want to put it. The fact that no one with absolute power could ever be expected to be altruistic in any way. It's a fundamentally cynical point of view, and it is unironically the view of Lex Luthor when Lex Luthor is being written consistently.
Mm.
And yet the people we put in charge of Superman most recently were fucking Zack Snyder, the Randian objectivist, which is the same ideology that Lex Luthor tends to lean to. Oh, that was
Anyway.
probably doomed from the start.
Apple pie.
You put somebody who agrees with Lex Luthor in charge of Superman, this is what happens. Lol.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
For Nietzsche, believed we shouldn't live for the future, but for the present. Stick with Lane. She'll show you the ropes.
Jimmy Olsen, this is Clark Kent.
Nice to meet you.
The true hero was the person who embraced the life he was given and made it better. I believe that there's a place for everyone.
I honestly kind of would want to see this as I like Bruce Campbell at his age. I think as a Perry White for the Day of the Planet.
Yeah, no, Bruce Campbell would be a good choice.
Just because, like, he is a great actor, and I know I just don't think he's gotten enough work recently, and that could be by his own choice, mind you. But
yeah, he likes being a character actor, and all the more power to him, honestly, because far too many actors are pretentious douche novels about everything.
And by the way, I would just love to hear him say "Great Caesar's Ghost" or like any of the Perry White, isms that he says.
the Golden Age reporter isms that came, yeah. Which again, and I've harped on this point way too many times, but why in the fuck wouldn't you do a period piece movies series? Why wouldn't you actually do something set in the Golden Age? But I digress.
Well, to be fair, and I'm just looking at it from the really stupid people perspective of like SJWs or those people that are so obsessed with that kind of shit. If they were in like the Golden Age, right? Then they would they would think at least the time periodness of it, instead of being like the DCAU where it has like a mixture of modern while technically also being of the past.
Hmm.
That you have to address the issues of the past like that,
Yeah, you
and thus would
you
just
can't
become a soapbox
yeah
story.
you can't show traditional society being good or positive in any way because that means you're propagandizing for traditionalism, Derp. Yeah, I know,
Well,
but
I'm just like honestly, my thing is like even Smallville did it in a way that they had
yeah,
a like the DC universe, like any comic book universe or superhero universe, is a heightened sense of reality. Even the Marvel universe, for it's trying to be contemporary, which I think is somewhat weird given the fact that since the '60s, more or less, since it really kicked off, a lot of things have happened and changed in that universe that it would be kind of not I wouldn't say drastically different, but a very different type of society and culture by the time it's in modern day for us.
well, yeah, and not only that, but from a simple like practical like storytelling standpoint, and for like a marketing standpoint and a brand standpoint, DC needs to realize that the golden age was their golden age, as in for the majority of the golden age of comics, DC was basically running unopposed. Marvel basically didn't really get off the ground as we would think of it today until the 60s, which meant that Marvel basically defined the Silver Age and DC defined the Golden Age. So if I were a executive for DC, I would be doing DC Golden Age period pieces purely on the basis that Marvel can't
Right back.
follow you. Marvel can't follow you there if you do Golden Age period pieces because the only character really that people are nominally aware of that was in Marvel in the Golden Age was Captain America, and they've already done that movie. They've already done Captain America: First Avenger. They can't really do it again. So if DC were smart, not to mention good at storytelling and writing, but if DC were smart from like a marketing and branding standpoint, do the Golden Age because DC's Golden Age was like when they were running the most unopposed, and it's also where Marvel can follow them the least because Marvel didn't really get off the ground until the famous bullpen, the uh, the trinity of Lee, Kirby, and Ditko doing their thing in the '60s. So do what Marvel can't, DC. If you're so interested in competing with Marvel, do what they can't. And one of the things they can't do is follow you into the Golden Age because the Golden Age was yours, and Marvel didn't really get onto the scene until the '60s in the Silver Age. But no,
Well,
that would require actually knowing their own brand and actually wanting to please their fan base, and we can't have that.
I
Derp.
do find it interesting that they cast Naomi Scott as Lois Lane in the trailer here.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I do think that the woman who plays Marvelous Mrs. Maisel will do a pretty good job as like
No,
a,
I do
a
too. I do too. Again, this was this was like after the casting of Superman announced
yeah.
the year, like 2 years ago or a year ago, um,
Hmm.
before everyone else. So obviously, people who had done the trailers for this just had to like choose.
Had to fill in the
Granted,
gap somewhere.
for Naomi Scott, I can see it somewhat, although
Yeah, no, she works, I think.
yeah, she's cool. Granted, for me, I was pick her for a DC character, and I did for a rewrite I'm doing of Black Adam. I picked her to be Jade.
Ah, interesting.
And for those who don't know who Jade is, she is the daughter of Alan Scott, the Golden Age version of Green Lantern.
Hmm.
Uh,
Anyway, shall we apple pie?
let me get to the tab. Apple pie.
This is my place. It's the place where you have work. You call that person Ubermensch.
All you have to do is look
Superman.
up in the sky.
The collector of worlds.
Brainiac.
Which I guess me and the original uploader were on the same page with this. Can someone please put Brainiac in a Superman movie already?
To be fair, there are like it's difficult to adapt Brainiac because there are like different versions of Brainiac.
I mean, yeah,
So it's hard to like because
you'd have
Well,
to pick one.
or mix a few to make it work.
Yeah, which
ideally-
honestly, I prefer the way they did it in Superman the
Animated.
animated series because that gives a personal connection with Clark that otherwise wouldn't be there.
Right. But
Basically, for those that don't know Superman the animated series, which shame on you, you should watch. But in the Superman the animated series timeline, Brainiac was essentially sort of the Big Brother from 1984-esque supercomputer that oversaw Krypton originally. And rather than save Krypton or use its resources to save Krypton, Brainiac chose to jettison himself, or itself, I guess at the time, because he wasn't in a body yet, from Krypton before it exploded without telling anyone, and trying to frame Jor-El, who had caught wind of the impending disaster that would have befallen Krypton. And he tried to frame Jor-El as a crackpot, all the while choosing to escape for himself.
Right, and there is the version that kind of makes more sense with which would lead to like Brainiac 5 of the Legion of Superheroes in the 31st century. Him being an alien from the planet Kalu.
Which, honestly, you could very easily combine those. Like, if he was originally like I say the Kryptonian Big Brother AI, and then he like landed on Kalu, and the Kaluians were the ones that made him a body, that could have worked.
Well, also, and this was an idea I had came up with for an iteration I was writing of a Superman story. Well, it was actually I was trying to write Superman Lives, just because I was bored one day, and this was an idea. I scrapped that. I did scrap Superman Lives just because I was busy with like other things. I didn't think I was going to get to it, but
because Brainstormer's brain creates new ideas at the space of like a gunshot.
But the idea was that, for one thing, yes, it was a supercomputer that was meant to run Krypton, right? Although I will admit, I think I subconsciously took that idea from Max Landis because he's writing this whole thing called the Kryptonian Epic. It's not bad. I actually really enjoy it. I know he's a little like, he goes a little bit extra and stuff, but I think it's fine. It's pretty cool. But it was a computer that was built to like take care of Krypton and look after and stuff, and that it was invented by Jor-El, the father of Kal-El, Clark Kent, Superman. And I brought this idea to Dalton's attention once, and he had said that would be interesting because there would be this almost brotherly antagonism that Brainiac has against Kal-El. Because they're both creations of Jor-El.
Yeah. The only problem there is it would place too much emphasis on Kal-El and not enough on Clark, and I'm very much sick of that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That's another one of those. That's another one of those writing mistakes that people make with Superman. They focus way too much on the
Kryptonian
alien aristocrat aspect of him, and not enough on the good old Kansas boy from humble origins aspect.
Well, okay. My reasoning in my head that it could work, not so much with the alien aristocrat stuff, but more so of it gives Brainiac a little more personality and a little more drive besides the whole collection of knowledge thing. Because that's interesting, don't get me wrong, but if that basically makes him robotic and just trying to serve a single purpose.
And doesn't leave much room for Brainy to show up eventually.
Yeah. So I was just thinking like there's something like that. Again, it's
it is good. I'm just looking at it in context of, the mistakes people have been making with the character recently. And I really think that people need to be reminded that the formative part of Superman is not Kal-El, it's Clark.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, shall we?
Yeah. Apple pie.
And for the live action version, obviously, because footage of a live action Brainiac is rare, they're using the one from the Krypton series, which I actually don't think was too bad.
Yeah, no, that was a good design for him, I think. I did like the kind of blending of the techno-organic thing. Like, yes, he's still a computer, but he has like organic aspects to him.
Mm-hmm. Shall we?
Mm-hmm. Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Brainiac.
I know it kind of feels like the world's ending. I just feel like the world is hopeless. It's really important to me that all of you know that your lives have value.
Aww.
That you're important.
Son of Krypton.
Does that not feel like what Superman would fucking say?
I mean, yes, it definitely has, as I often say, the aw shucks vibe to it. So sweet.
And I do appreciate the honestly, I always appreciate like okay. Night Dragon Turtle.
See you later, DT.
Yeah. I appreciate the amount of work that's put into the trailers because you can like there are obvious edits, but it's still a lot of effort is put in to make sure they work.
And I'll say this for the guy who made this.
Dr. Flashpoint.
He gets the sentiment behind the character more than it seems even James Gunn does. And I don't want to hate James Gunn because like all 3 of his Guardians movies are in my top 10 MCU movies. And I really liked his, and the only reason his Suicide Squad 2 isn't my favorite DC movie is because Joker exists. And Joker is of course operating on a level all its own, but even so, like James Gunn and I seem to vibe in a lot of ways. He seems to like the same sort of golden silver age kitschy over the top cosmic stuff that I do as well. And his visual aesthetic is very akin to mine, which is I think one of the things that made it so easy for me to get in his head when I was fixing the Superman.
Right. So yeah, so may I chime in for a moment?
Sorry.
It's not no, I wasn't trying to cut you off or anything. I was just like something to add to that with recently there is the but I agree with everything you said. I agree with everything you said about James Gunn and stuff. But to be completely honest, he is what's the word I can use? He's a I'm not saying this as like an insult or anything. I'm saying this as like he's a weirdo. To define that term, weirdo in the way that he's more attracted to the less popular stuff within the DC universe, the stuff that is often
an outsider perspective.
Yes.
I think he favors an outsider perspective, and this is one of the things, and this is why even I, who am a massive James Gunn fan, am worried about this, because every creative decision that he has made since getting the keys to DC remind me that in years prior, when someone asked him if he would ever do a Superman movie, he said no. And the reason why he said no, his explanation for saying no, was I don't get or like the character.
And that's fine. He's entitled to that opinion. But if he had said, but with that, he should have realized that he should not have been in charge of this character, this property.
Yeah, he should have still been the manager of DC, but
Right.
found somebody else to get to do the character.
Yeah, it
But-
feels like a weird, like, hypocrisy there, right?
And a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say, well, yeah, he said that years ago, though. He did more research. He gets the character now. To those people, I say, you can believe that if you like, but I don't see the problem. And again, I would like to believe that. I would like to see. I honestly, and this is once again me noting a similarity between myself and James Gunn here. I would have liked to have seen him go on kind of the same arc that I ended up going on, thanks to Brainstormer, where I didn't really like or respect the character before either, and then Brainstormer kind of explained him to me from his perspective, and then I kind of got it. But the thing is, I would like to believe that James Gunn went on that kind of to that kind of investigative arc that I kind of did. But if you want to see that, you have to actually look at the receipts. And if we're supposed to take everything he's done since taking over DC and writing Superman Legacy, or what was once Superman Legacy, but is fortunately not anymore, if we're supposed to take his takes on Twitter after writing the character seriously, or we're supposed to take his managing of DC as a sign of him coming to understand the character, I don't see it. I see him still doing exactly what he would have done if he still didn't like or understand the character. I don't think he has changed. I don't think he has done enough research or the right kind of research to understand the character. I think he still would prefer not to have to write the character. And that's one of the reasons why it both didn't surprise me, but very much disappointed me when it turned out that his pitch for Superman Legacy had 5 or 6 or 7 other characters, major superhero characters in it. Namely, it very much seems like he wrote a Superman movie in name only and is now going to use all the other obscure characters that he likes, like Mr. Terrific and people like that, as an excuse to not have to focus on Superman in a goddamn Superman movie.
Anyway, we got about 50 seconds left of this. So.
Yep. Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Your world is at an end.
I can't save everyone. Your father chose to be your protector, just as you've chosen to be the Earth's protector.
God damn, does that not like get me a bit?
Yeah, no, it works. It's obviously, editing footage, and obviously you can't actually get actors to do shit and what have
No, I
you.
know,
But
the line of
the sentiment is definitely there. Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely on point.
The line of your father chose to be your protector, just as you have chosen to be the protector of the world, or Earth. And I like how, because that was a major thing that was mentioned with like Superman Legacy when it was announced, is touching the idea of like Jonathan Kent and Clark Kent's relationship as father and son. Because Jonathan Kent, well, the Kents overall are a major influence of Superman being Superman, obviously. And obviously we got like the major like inverse of it with Man of Steel, unfortunately.
Should I just let them all lie? Maybe. Fucking hell. You don't tell someone with, who's strong enough to juggle planets
mean,
like they're
okay.
freaking ping pong balls that as a child. Damn it.
Again, I
You-
think from a
You
real
want Homelander? Because that's how you get. Sorry.
I recognize the anger, understand it, but looking from an in-world perspective and how Zack Snyder built up the whole thing, him saying that does make sense. I think it's still stupid, but he's more or less scared, again, like Jonathan in that universe of the DCEU, he was scared that someone would take him away, his son and all that. It's understandable. I get it.
It still probably would have been better if he had said I don't know rather than maybe. Which I know it's a small difference, but it would have made a lot of difference if he had said something like, honestly, Clark, I don't know what you should do because I've never had to deal with your problems, with your responsibilities. You're just going to have to make the best of what you're just going to have to do the best with what you have. Like something like that would have been understandable and would have carried the same sentiment without tacitly maybe condoning letting a whole bus full of people die
Children.
and teaching children even, and telling someone with the normie definition of the powers of a god, which again there's a whole another conversation about how Superman is a Superman, not a god, but that's neither here nor there. But like the normie definition of the powers of a god, you're telling a child with these powers that maybe he shouldn't regard life as sacred. Maybe he should be willing to let people die. No, fuck you. That is how you get a Brightburn or a Homelander scenario.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Nobody forced that on you, yet you embraced it.
Help people even if it puts you at risk. That's the purpose of power. I miss you, son.
I miss you too, Dad.
God, that actually hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it works. It definitely works. I mean, yeah, no, it works. I don't know if it was quite the right angle to go with, but it's definitely, again, it gets more of the sentiment than anyone has in years. So
what do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm not sure it's exactly the right sentiment to go with.
Okay, you got to be more specific, man, because you're just.
I don't know. It doesn't quite sit right with me, but it might just be the phrasing.
What? Okay, dude. Please be specific. What sentiment are you having an issue with?
Play it again so I can think it over, because I'm having a hard time articulating.
All right, hold on. I'm back.
I'd be the Earth's protector. Nobody forced that on you, yet you embraced it.
Help people even if it puts you at risk. That's the purpose of power. I miss you, son.
I miss you too, Dad.
Okay, I think I figured it out. One, to help people even if it puts you at risk. I don't know if that really works because Superman is, kryptonite and other MacGuffins notwithstanding, he's invulnerable. So I'm not sure that's the right
I
sentiment
think
to
you're
go with.
I'm gonna be honest, man. Think you're reaching a bit.
And two, like I get that the person who made this trailer is going off of what James Gunn said that he wanted to do, John Kent and Clark's bond being what is inspiring him. I do feel like it falls almost in the same, not as badly as Zack Snyder, but very similar to Zack Snyder, in that it focuses too much on him getting a personal reason to be good rather than just choosing to be good in general.
I have to disagree. I'm not seeing that personally.
But like I said, it didn't quite sit right with me, and it might have been the phrasing. And again, there's only so many audio clips you can use, so I am nitpicking. I acknowledge that I'm nitpicking, but yeah, not quite
To be fair, John,
exactly.
that's all you ever do. To be fair, that's your thing.
I mean, somebody has to. God damn it! But
Well, there's one more from a guy we have seen many trailers from, specifically the Batman Christmas one we saw last year, and the Crow
Mhm.
one I showed like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up. Give me a second. So that does raise the question: Jonathan Kent dying? What do you think about that?
As in how it was done in Man of Steel, or in general, or what?
It's just in general, like going forward, because it has been kind of a prerequisite for many Superman stories.
I don't exactly like it because I feel like it's trying too hard to make Superman like Spider-Man.
I can see that. I'm on the fence about it. To be fair, I think it can be done well. Obviously, like
Right.
anything.
There are
Um,
good ways to do it, and there are bad ways to do it, and that's fine. My
Yeah.
point there, though, the reason why I don't think you should make Superman like Spider-Man in that way is the thing with Spider-Man, as everybody knows at this point, is he was originally selfish with his powers, and it took Uncle Ben dying to
Okay, hold on.
convince him that he.
I think you're looking at it from a frame of reference that is because the deaths serve two different purposes. Uncle Ben, obviously, great power comes great responsibility. Jonathan Kent doesn't do that. Clark always had that sense of responsibility with his powers. The thing that Jonathan Kent's death, and this is the one I prefer, when he dies of like a heart attack or some form of a thing that Clark cannot punch his way or use any of his abilities to stop,
Mm-hmm.
which is, heart attack, cancer, whatever, is that you can't save everyone, even though he will try his absolute damnedest to do so. To an unhealthy.
Right, and but that's the thing, though. I'm fine with Jonathan Kent's death as long as it's through natural causes.
Right. Okay. I think that's where I was confused in your reasoning. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I don't like framing it as the tragedy, and this is the thing, and this is one of the many things that Zack Snyder got wrong, and it's the same thing that, again, I might be reaching a little bit hard, but seems to be rubbing me the wrong way here. The thing that defines Superman, at least as far as I understand, which is, granted, a very recent emergence for me. But the thing that defines Superman is he doesn't need a personal tragedy to be good. He doesn't need a reason to be good. He doesn't need to lose
Right. I'm
someone
not.
to be good. He just is that way. What
Okay.
defines
So
what defines him in short, in my mind, is the fact that he is fundamentally invulnerable, but he still chooses to be good because he isn't traumatized and broken and damaged on the inside. And in his mind, it's as simple as
done.
why would I choose to be bad when I can choose to be good?
All right. To be fair, I think you have to watch.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't disagree with you. I get what you're saying. I think you would have to watch that trailer on your own, because I think you might have misheard, or I'm just. But
Again, maybe I'm reaching, but I'm sick of people trying to. I'm sick of people trying to turn Superman into other characters in the sense of he needs a reason, he needs a trauma, he needs
okay. In that trailer, I do not think that was it. I think that was just acknowledging the fact that Jonathan Kent Pat, and that like any son who had a good relationship with his father, just so we're specific there, would miss his father. I think that was all it was. It was just supposed to be some type of emotional punch for the audience. That was it. I don't think it was supposed to be referencing anything else or acknowledging anything like that.
Honestly, the way I would do it, if you wanted to do this, and you could very easily do it by having John and Martha be older when they find him, have them die of old age.
I don't know if I think the New 52. I know For All the Faults in the New 52. I think that's what they did, actually.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Although, see, personally, how I would do it, obviously, is have Clark do the Superman thing for a while when Jonathan is still around. I know Jonathan passing when he's like a kid to help him teach that lesson that he can't do everything. It does somewhat help, but I do think it is important that he does. It would be early in his Superman career.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I would have it be after he's an adult rather than when he's a child. But have them die of old age regardless.
Yeah,
because that teaches the lesson of there are some forces that are beyond me, etc., and so on, without framing it as a quote unquote formative tragedy or anything.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, I think you can have a formative tragedy at any age.
You can, but I think it's important, especially to differentiate a more proper Superman from the mistakes that they've made recently.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
You need to stress the point that despite what Lex thinks, despite the fact that Lex thinks, oh, you must be doing this just because you're traumatized, or oh, you must be doing this because you're stupid, or oh, you must be doing this because you're selfish and want to show off or something.
You know what?
Because that is.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut.
Sorry.
So, no, I don't mean to cut you off. I understand, and obviously we know where that was going. But I just remembered a comic. I don't remember what year it was from. It was in like, I don't know, it might have been the 80s, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
A Superman comic, which I kind of want to see adapted somewhat, where Lex Luthor uses a supercomputer to deduce the identity of Superman, like the secret identity of Superman. And he gets told it's Clark Kent, but because of Lex Luthor's ego and his, not believing that Superman would just be this regular guy when he has all that quote unquote godlike power.
Yeah. Why would he be such a clumsy stooge if he could rule the world? Blah blah.
I honestly think that was actually that might be paraphrasing the line actually.
Yeah.
But he gets so upset he destroys the supercomputer.
Even though we as the audience know he's right.
Yeah, and
sorry.
this is a weird
I
tangent.
I was
This
just gonna finish my
yeah,
I was just gonna
yeah,
finish my thought.
please finish your thing, and then I'll say my thing. Go ahead.
But this is the thing. So many of the faults of modern day Superman writing seem to be that we, as a society, or at least the writers who have been put in charge of him, seem to more align themselves with Lex Luthor. They seem to think that he has to have some selfish, personal, motivated reason not to be a tyrant, not to be this, Old Testament God figure. When in actuality, Superman doesn't do bad things, not because of any sort of higher moral blah blah, but because he's just so good, so pure of heart, that it very much simply wouldn't occur to him to do bad things.
Right. And again, if we're going Old Testament references, and this was actually a dissertation by a college professor who wanted to teach comic books as a college course back in, I think, the 90s or even 80s, where he was talking about Superman. He compared him to Moses. So all you motherfuckers out there that constantly compare him to Jesus Christ or whatever the fuck off.
Yeah. Moreover, just stop making God references with Superman altogether,
Well,
please.
okay, look, no, okay. Honestly, again, if you are going to do Bible references to Superman, okay, Moses, Samson, well, I honestly think those two are fairly close.
Trying to think of other like biblical hero type figures. But yeah, if you're gonna do Bible references with Superman, base it on the actual influences of Superman that we know Siegel and Schuster actually consciously chose to put in. And moreover, and this is where I'm gonna put my philosopher hat on. Superman is, philosophically speaking, a Platonic figure. Short version, Plato believed that reality exists on two levels: the world of ephemera, or the world of incidents, and the world of forms. The idea being that just picking a random example, every chair has some portion of chairness in it, but there is a higher ideal of the perfect chair. And in that sense, Superman is exactly that. He is man. He is what a human being is to its highest, like, Platonic degree. That's why he's called a Superman. People always make the mistake of making him a god figure, which makes no sense in universe anyway, because there are actually metaphysical gods extant in that universe.
As well as demigods and yada yada, but
yeah, and all the other IRL supernatural shit. But he is and was always meant to be the abilities of a human man taken to their highest degree. That's why he can't, for example, warp reality, change the weather, read minds, etc. He only has the abilities of a normal human taken to their highest degree, because he is a very Platonic figure, in the sense of he is essentially supposed to be the ideal form of what a man should be. Not what a god should be, not what a, supernatural being should be, but what a man is capable of, taken to its highest degree. Its highest, like, peak.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, so final trailer, which is another fan-made trailer that was made by Soylent Brack 1, was published. I probably should have the last one too. March 11th, 2003. No, I'm sorry, 2023.
It's just a bit of a difference there of about 20 years.
Yeah. I was sorry, my fucking eyes like did a weird crisscross thing, and I read 2003.
How old would you have been in 2003, out of curiosity? Because I would have been like between 7 and 8 somewhere.
I would have been, okay, I was 99, so 2 going on 3? Because my
You-
birthday's at the end of the year.
Oh,
so-
okay, right. So, yeah, like you would have been. I would have thought between like 3 and 4, but okay.
No, okay. Again, I was born in 99. So, okay, 99, 2000. That would be 1 year. Okay. No, then yeah, I would be 3 to 4, actually.
Okay. I was gonna say
Sorry.
I didn't know if I was being a dumbass or if you were failing to do math.
It was never my strongest, and I preferred literature or English.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I think everyone does, honestly, on some level. Even people who were good at math
dude,
really
I
hate the way
went to
math is
summer
taught.
school because I flunked algebra.
Mm. It took me forever to get the whole PEMDAS thing down. That's what kept fucking me up with
I
algebra.
totally forgot. You learn nothing in those schools these days. I'll be fucking honest.
No, you don't.
Because I totally, like, all that shit, I totally forgot. Like, immediately after I graduated, or even, like, the year after I did that shit. Anyway.
I mean, part of it might also be, and this might just be a personal thing for me, but like the vast majority of math teachers that I ever had were assholes.
No, I got along with all my teachers. I just, to be fair, I'm more of a tactile learner. Most of the time, you listen. You had to listen to them, so it was It was a little more difficult for me.
Ah,
You know, I prefer to learn while doing it than.
my biggest problem math wise was that I could do the math in my head.
But
Again, excluding
putting on paper is always the fucking problem, right?
yeah, because
Well,
my
actually, no.
penman-
It's the opposite for me. To be fair,
Yeah.
I work better when I work it out on paper than in my head. So, because
See, I didn't have that problem. My problem was I have cerebral palsy. I have a physical disability,
so you're
and as a
always in
result,
your head.
and as a result, my penmanship is bullshit.
Yeah.
So, and it's a pain. It literally gives me a pain in the hand if I have to write too much. So I got in the habit of just doing the math in my head rather than writing it down. And every math teacher I ever had would always, you have to show your work, you have to show your work, you have to show your work. And I'm like, I can verbally explain my work if you want me to verbally explain my work. But
Wait a
if
minute.
I have to write it down, it will take an hour, it will cramp my hand, and it will look like absolute dog shit anyway because my penmanship is awful because CP.
Wait
So
a-
there.
Did I pass my SATs?
You can't really fail your SATs, dude. It just scores you based on what your aptitudes for certain things are.
Well, I graduated, so I must have passed somewhat.
Again, you literally cannot fail SATs. They just rank you based on where your aptitudes are.
To be fair, I was just super nervous and trying not to throw up the whole time when I was doing that shit because, you know, you're told constantly that is a super important thing and shit.
For
And,
college exception, etc.
then thank God I didn't go to college.
I usually ended up doing pretty well at standardized tests, and I always liked when we did standardized tests because that meant no homework. And I fucking hate the concept of homework, because, and this is a complete side rant, but dear teachers the world over, students spend 7 to 9 hours at school every freaking day. Their home time should be their own. Fuck you. Just like when you're working an actual job.
Technically, I didn't.
When you're on
technically in high
shift.
school-
Sorry.
No, I get what you're saying, but technically I didn't have homework. It was just like the rule was if you didn't finish it in class, then try to finish it at home before the next day. Most of the time,
Yeah.
I would. Most of the time, I wouldn't do that. You know, because like you said, home time is my time, and I would just, if I got to school early, I would just sit somewhere and just do it.
Yeah, and it goes for jobs too, dear employers. If the shift lasts from 9 to 5 or from 7 to noon or from whenever the fuck to whenever the fuck, that is the time you are paying for. Do not expect me to be on call after that time has expired.
Anyway, this final trailer, it's 1 minute and 33 seconds long, so shorter than the first one.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
I'm glad you came, son. This is important.
Anything for my family.
You're probably gonna seem silly now, but
You alright? What's the matter?
I like the music choice in the background because
It's
obviously
Starman by David Bowie, which has become the colloquial theme for super. It's become the theme for Superman recently. I'm not sure why.
I think part of the reason is because James Gunn is doing it, and everybody knows how much James Gunn loves his music references. So
I think there might be songs better for Superman, but I probably need to listen to Starman myself to get it.
I mean, there are literal songs that have Superman in the lyrics, so I don't know why they don't use those. But
To be fair, when no, actually he doesn't. Not always. I mean, Suicide Squad didn't use. I was gonna say like he prefers the music to be diegetic, but that's not always the case.
I mean, I definitely think it is an aspect of his style, but yeah, I do like the song in the background just because it is a song I could see James Gunn using, and this is meant to be a fan trailer for the movie that he was making at the time, so that does work.
Yeah.
I don't know if Starman fits Soups very much though. I mean, I get it, the whole alien come down to Earth thing, but there are other better fits, I think, for him.
But I do like how everything looks. Like it looks. Weirdly enough, it does give me somewhat Zack Snyder like cinematography, which might actually be using some shots of Zack Snyder stuff. But
I mean, the cinematography was never the problem with those movies, though.
Oh no, never. But I still like the feeling of it. Obviously, it's supposed to be like a TV trailer, so it's working, and it's just giving you a shot of stuff. But overall, it doesn't seem too bad. Like tonally, it feels. There's a type of movie I know it feels reminiscent of. I just can't remember what it's called. It's like a family movie, like a specific genre of family movie.
I think I know what you mean. I just can't think of it either.
It's not a family comedy, but it's also not like a family drama. It's like a feel-good movie. You know, it's very wholesome.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
feel-good film.
Superman. So
yeah,
that probably is the vibe to go with.
Shall we?
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Be safe, okay?
Hungry.
So I did want to bring this up. One thing, two big actors. The lady who was in one of the actors from Friends, I can't remember her name. Hold on. Playing Martha Kent.
I don't remember enough of Friends to. I really didn't like Friends. I was always a Seinfeld guy.
Jennifer Aniston. And the guy who played God in Lucifer as Jonathan Kent. Hold on.
I assume not the Allstate guy.
Yeah, he's also. I was going to bring that up. Dennis Haysbert. Which already, I mean, if these were actually the castings of good castings, I think, because I think they work for those characters. But it would be interesting because often, weirdly enough, the Kents often look very similar to Clark or Cal or
Which is weird because, of course, they're
They're
not biologically connected to him at all.
Well, I mean, Max Landis, I know again, it's a weird thing to bring up, but he's doing like I said, he's doing like this whole Superman story thing. To be fair, he made the Kryptonians like legit actual aliens and not humanoids. They were like plant creatures, which explains like the power of the solar
The
radiation.
sun thing.
Yeah.
Photosynthesis.
A thing called hybridization, which would have had like the when another creature or another like entity or terrestrial creature would come in contact with the spore, which would be the child, their body would be rewritten to look and like be the hybridization of that alien.
Okay, so sort of like Martian shapeshifting, kind of.
Yeah, but it's stuck in one form.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, yeah, again, these two actors, I honestly could see playing those characters like John and Martha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But yeah, again,
Apple
this just
pie?
feels very. I was just gonna say, I paused it like at 23 seconds, like we were 30 seconds in. So let me get back. But yeah, it just feels very. I like how it all feels,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how I can properly explain it. To be fair.
I want when eventually Superman his identity does get revealed. I want Lex to make reference to that 180 story and be like, "Well, damn, the supercomputer was right."
Shall we?
Yeah, apple pie.
Apple pie.
There's a sky. The world is dark. It's hopeless. It's really important to me that all of you know. I don't want anyone here to ever feel like that.
So John Goodman
they
as the Toyman.
They used the same bit again.
To be fair, that before this casting, I don't think David Cornswet was in a lot of things.
No, but still, it is funny that they use that same segment of dialogue again.
I do think it has different context here, obviously, because in the one previous, he was giving a speech to a bunch of people, though this does seem like he's giving that, but with the fact that it's showing Toyman blowing up people with Superman toys.
Yeah.
Also, Toyman is a villain. That's cool. Like how we're always talking about how it's always either Kryptonians or Luthor. It's cool that they're shaking it up with the trailers here.
Someone please use Superman's more extended rogues gallery, please. And I probably wouldn't do it in the first movie because I want it to be saved for the third movie in a trilogy. But Mixie somewhere, please.
Okay. Or Catipsium.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
Just look for me. Because I see you.
Who knows what else he may have hurt? Nothing's right anymore.
Never seen you like this.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah, again, most of the casting before it was announced, so they did these trailers, and yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think they all work, to be fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wish they had gone with instead of Starman, if they had gone with, I don't remember who made the song, but there's a song called Superman, and it's kind of a really, well, it's more sad, but in a kind of saccharine way. I can't remember who made it, but if you're gonna use pop music in a Superman movie, it should be that one because it's literally the framing device of the song literally is Superman basically sort of coming to terms with himself, and
What?
it would be a really good
Do
choice.
you remember when it came out?
It must have been before, like, I remember hearing it on the radio a lot, so it must have been sometime in the early 2000s.
Sung by a woman?
No.
Hmm.
I'll have to find it again and send it to you.
Is it called Superman? It's Not Easy?
Yes, that one.
5 for Fighting.
Thank you. I couldn't think of who did it, but yes, yeah. Why the fuck isn't that the one everyone is using? Like, I get David Bowie is awesome. Don't get me wrong, and Starman is an awesome song, but I'm not sure it works here because again, it might be making the mistake of focusing way too much on the alien and not enough on the man aspect.
I mean, the editor here could be using it as a juxtaposition because it's showing a lot of Clark's humanity and stuff.
And that's all well and good. And again, I will never ever say that David Bowie is not always a win, because David Bowie is always a win. But when there are actual songs that contain Superman in the lyrics, why use them?
That's fair.
Although, on that point, it would be funny if Save Me made a comeback, the theme song for Smallville.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I probably wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't necessarily either. But as long as we're talking about stupid fan servicey type things, it might be nice to have that song make a comeback. Even though I still think the 5 for Fighting one is the one you probably should go with for this.
All right, shall we?
Yeah.
Apple pie.
Apple pie.
I feel everything. The only thing we all share together is that we're all alone. People need something to believe in.
I mean, I don't really know nothing to say. I wish these two trailers were what we were like really getting from this. Well,
yeah, no, it would be at least very much in the right vein.
Yeah.
And how?
And
I still hope we're wrong. I still hope we're wrong, and that James Gunn does. I hope he
absolutely
get his. I hope he did have his aha moment with regards to Superman, and I hope we're wrong. But it just every single decision DC makes, even prior to James Gunn, seemed like a really stupid, counterproductive, backwards decision. But James Gunn, like everything we've seen with regards to James Gunn's DCU, also seems like a stupid, backwards decision or an incomplete decision. So
anyway.
I want to be wrong, but the evidence doesn't suggest so. Yes, apple pie.
Apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that, folks, I want to say, well, first off, we will be doing the Rings of Power Season 2 trailer next week. And now I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and...
I'm hungry, so fuck off.